Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our halaqah. This is our 49th Tawheed halaqah. The date is the 15th of September 2025. We are on volume 2 of the Professor's Kitab At Tawheed. Chapter 16, page 535, chapter title, Did the Arab Mushrikeen Accept Tawheed al-Rububiyyah? At this juncture, it is not paramount to prove the error that was made by Imam Ibn Taymiyyah in situating al-Khaliqiyyah under the divisions of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, which is a secondary error in any event. He was mistaken in including matters of at-Tadbir and at-Tasarruf under the divisions of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Overall, though the deadly error that he made was in relation to al-Uluhiyyah and the catastrophic neglect of Tawheed al-Dhat. Allah the Exalted and Majestic says, مَتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدَهُ وَمَا كَانَ مَعَهُ مِنْ إِلَهٍ إِذًا لَذَهَبَ كُلُّ إِلَهٍ بِمَا خَلَقَ
وَلَعَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ.
عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Allah has never had a child, nor is there any God beside him. If there were, each God would have taken his creation aside and tried to overcome the others. May Allah be exalted above what they describe. And that is 91. Surah 91. It is a false, heinous claim to assert that the Arab Mushrikeen were in essence believers in what he has termed Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Yet they did not enter into the fold of Islam with it. Were they really true believers in what Ibn Taymiyyah and those who followed him called Tawheed al-Rububiyyah? The truth of the original covenant born of fitrah, natural disposition, is outlined in the verse. وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ على أنفسهم ألست بربكم قالوا بلى شهدنا تقولوا
أن تقولوا
يوم القيامة إنا كنا عن هذا غافلين. Prophet, when your Lord took out the offspring from the loins of the children of Adam and made them bear witness about themselves, he said, Am I not your Lord? And they replied, Yes, we bear witness. So you cannot say on the day of resurrection, we were not aware of this. And that is Quran 7:172. Okay, just a couple of questions on this. In matters of tadbir and tasarruf, what's the definitions of those two?
Managing the universe.
Okay, tadbir from dabara, to arrange, and tasarruf was the
same similar tasarruf.
Okay. So coupled with the question that and also just for definition, rububiyyah, lordship, and uluhiyyah, the greatness, the highness of Allah. Yeah.
No, Uluhiyyah is divinity. That's the only word that you can translate with is divinity. It has to be explained. The Quran explains it completely. The Old Testament try to explain it a bit, and so on. Because originally, actually, the word for ilah is actually the same meaning like Rab, but then it got separated and developed. It is a very deep concept. That's the reason maybe Ibn Taymiyyah and others blundered, but they have no excuse because the Quran clarified that in a clear way. And the whole book is essentially answering this point.
Coupled with the question that occurs in the grave when asked, Who is your Lord, etc., it suffices to undermine the blatant lie that the disbelievers of the tribe of Quraysh and the Arabs more generally were believers in Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. But such are people who have considerable misconceptions regarding several verses as mentioned in the Book of Allah. They read such verses with distortion in their minds, with limited understanding, because they are among those who read the Quran, but it doesn't pass beyond their throat. They undertake ritual acts of worship to be seen by people, seeking to impress others as they are impressed with it themselves. They give hollow call to the Book of Allah, yet they are nothing from it whatsoever. Inevitably, as a result of their mindset, coupled with the rejection of reflection, thought, and proper diligence, except admiration for themselves, is that they kill the people of Islam and leave the people of idolatry, as can be seen plain for all today with the rise of countless violent extremist groups. One should be in no doubt that the peace and blessings be upon him instructed that they should be exterminated upon encounter, the one doing so obtaining a reward from Allah on the Day of Judgment. It would be good to start
That's
by...
the description of the Khawarij in various hadith. I just imported it in the book. Yeah.
It would be good to start by investigating to determine where the false understanding that the disbelievers of Quraysh or the general Arabs at the time were committed to Tawheed al-Rububiyyah originated from. From where does such an understanding stem from? Uncovering this niche problem is required. Prudence dictates to begin with one of the verses in question and consider in full the tafsir that is provided by Imam al-Tabari. The following is set out in his tafsir. Regarding the interpretation of where He the Almighty said, do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah, and that's Surah Baqarah 22. Abu Ja'far said, al-andad, rivals, is the plural of the word nid and an-nid, which means an equal, alike, as has been said by the poet Hassan ibn Thabit. Do you mock him, yet are not his nid equal? That is to say, he say that you have something akin to this, and it is everything which is the like of something else and similar to it. It is its nid. As it has been narrated by Bishr ibn Mu'adh, narrated to us, he said, Yazid narrated to us from Sa'id from Qatada regarding the verse, do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah. He said, any equals. Al-Muthanna narrated to me, he said, Abu Hudayfa narrated to me, he said, Shibl narrated to us from Ibn Abi Najih from Mujahid regarding the verse, do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah. He said, any equals. Musa ibn Harun narrated to me, he said, Amr narrated to us, he said, Asbat narrated to us from As-Suddi. In the report he mentioned from Abu Malik and from Abu Salih from Ibn Abbas, and another time from Ibn Masud and from the companion of the Prophet, peace and blessing, and from the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, regarding the verse, do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah. He said, equals among men whom you follow in disobedience to Allah.
That's very crucial, yeah? This is the andad. That you equate them in obedience to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yunus ibn Abdullah narrated to me, he said, Ibn Wahhab reported to us, he said, Ibn Zayd said regarding the statement of Allah, do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah. He said, al-andad are gods, which they make equal to him, and they attribute to him the like of what they attribute to him. It is narrated from Al-Minjab. He said, Bishr narrated to us from Abu Rawq, from Al-Dhahak, from Ibn Abbas, in relation to his saying...
Dhahak.
Okay. From Ibn Abbas, in relation to his saying, do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah. He said, and the like thereof. Muhammad ibn Sinan narrated to me, he said, Abu Asim narrated to us from Shabib, from Ikramah, regarding the verse, do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah. That they said, if it wasn't for our dog, thieves would enter our properties. If it were not for our dog barking in our properties. At-Tabari, Tabari in brackets, so Allah the Almighty forbids them to associate anything with Him, to worship other than Him, or to take equals in obedience. I'm not sure what the significance of that story about the dog.
That is, you should not say, well, not the dog barking at the thieves who enter our house. It's because Allah is the one who prevented the thief from coming. The barking of the dog is only Amin. The people of Jahiliyyah think the barking of the dog is that now really what prevented the thieves. So he equates him really effective power in the universe. But it's an extreme point. Actually, you see, even At-Tabari is, despite of all his greatness and being a first-class exegesis and so on, still he, by taking the ayah after the contest, if you can open now the screen to the Quran, to the ayah, and the ayahs before and after, you see that the andad are also the leaders and the one who they obey as they obey Allah. It is they're taking them lords beside Allah. That's the undad. That's the undad. The general definition, like other gods, other things, other people effective in their universe, that's a generalization. But in that context, is clear. If you can open now, you can see it, or we get it in another occasion. Is the undad is really those chieftains, kings, rulers who people obey as if they are their command, as if it's divine command. Essentially, for example, in modern times, all secular states and institutions are laws beside Allah. They are undad. Even if people say, no, Uluhiyyah, we are monotheists. No, they are not. They are mushrik to the bone marrow. But people do not recognize that. And if you check this ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, the ayahs before and after, you will see clearly it is talking about the leaders and the chieftains and the tribal chieftains, etc., and the heads of states and kings and so on. So only the narration which mentioned from Abu Salih and from the others, and going to Ibn Abbas, going to other Sahaba, going to Ibn Mas'ud, that's the only one which really fits accurately to that as in the context. Okay? So even there, al-Tabari did not do the matter justice. It did just generalities without precisely showing the context. And the reason for that, again, the same disease. It did not connect it to the ayahs before and the ayahs after. The same problem.
Okay. Muhammad ibn Humayd narrated to us, he said, Salama ibn al-Fadl narrated to us from Muhammad ibn Ishaq, from Muhammad ibn Abi Muhammad, Mawla of Zayd ibn Thabit, from Ikramah, from Sa'id ibn Jubair, from Ibn Abbas. He said, this was sent down concerning both the two groups of kuffar and munafiqeen. By do not knowing this, set up rivals to Allah. Allah means do not associate with Allah any equal who can bring no gain or loss. When you know that you have no Lord, who provides for you apart from him, for you already know that Tawheed to which the messenger calls you is the truth, in which there is no doubt. Bishr narrated to us, he said Yazid narrated to us from Sa'id, from Qatada, in relation to his saying in the verse, knowing this, that is, you know that Allah created you, and he created the heavens and the earth, then you make andad to him. Among those who mentioned that it was related to the people of the two books, the Torah and the Bible, Abu Qarib narrated to us, he said Waqi narrated to us from Sufyan, from a man from Mujahid, concerning the verse, do not knowing this set up rivals to Allah. He said, he is the one in the Torah and the Bible. Al-Muthanna ibn Ibrahim narrated to us, he said Qabisa narrated to us, he said Sufyan narrated to us from Mujahid similarly. Al-Muthanna narrated to us, he said Abu Hudayfa narrated to us, he said Shibl narrated to us from Ibn Abi Najih from Mujahid, regarding the verse, knowing this, saying, and you know that there is no equal to him, the Torah and the Bible. Abu Ja'far at-Tabari said, I assume what prompted Mujahid to give this interpretation and to assign it as something addressed to the people of the Torah and the Bible and not anyone else was his supposition that the Arabs did not know that Allah was their creator and provider, because they rejected the oneness of their Lord and associated partners with him in worshipping others. But this is only an opinion. Allah, however, has said about them in his book that they acknowledged his oneness despite their associating the partners they associated with him in worshipping him.
So you see the people are wavering again, the same, as I said, the same is the only one which is got it right, Ibn Abbas and Mas'ud and the Sahaba in one narration, is most likely because they understood it in the context, or they maybe were discussing with the Prophet ﷺ, whatever, and he explained to them is that it is chieftains and leaders who command, and whose command is regarding as absolute, as lawmaking. They have lawmaking powers. That's the correct one, as indicated by the context in Surah Al-Baqarah. This ayah specifically. That the word not generally mean equal or rival. That is general, but what the ayah means. Okay, carry on.
He, the Exalted, has said, if you prophet, ask them who created them, they are sure to say Allah. That's 43:87. And he said, say,
that's another example now. We finish with the andad.
Well, yeah, I'm just carrying on. It's just gone to another, it's just reference to another ayah. And he said, Say, Prophet, who provides for you from the sky and the earth? Who controls hearing and sight? Who brings forth the living from the dead and the dead from the living? And who governs everything? They are sure to say, Allah. Then say, So why do you not take heed of him? And that's from 1031. The opinion more preferable for the interpretation of his saying of knowing this, since it was the case that the Arabs acknowledged the oneness of Allah, that he was the originator of creation, their creator and provider, as was the case with the people of the two scriptures, and since there is no indication in the verse that Allah means by his saying knowing this, either of the two parties, but rather that it is the generality of people without exception that are being addressed, because he meant all the people. Then he said, O people, worship your Lord. Then the preferable interpretation is that of Ibn Abbas and Qatada, whereby he meant all those obligated by his commandments who know of the oneness of Allah, that he has no partner in his creation, yet who associate another with him in their worship, irrespective of whether these people are Arabs or non-Arabs, literate or illiterate. Nevertheless, it was addressed to the kuffar among the people of scripture who were around the land of Hijrah of the Messenger of Allah sallam, and to the munafiqeen among them, and to those among them who were mushrik and had gone over to nifaq when the Messenger of Allah sallam, arrived there. Consider carefully what At-Tabari wrote in his extensive quote, particularly where he said, I assume that what prompted Mujahid to give this interpretation, here the Arabic edition requotes the section in its entirety, that's just a footnote. One needs to review and read this carefully in order to fully appreciate how the defect for this matter arose originally. Indeed, the Quraysh and most of the Adonai Arab tribes knew that Allah was a deity, the central and highest, being their creator and provider, the one who manages the most important matters, savior from the perils of land and sea, perhaps only because he was described as the greatest God, their leader and father, likening him to his creation in that regard, attributing to him characteristics born of deficiency, need, or absurdities and impossibilities that contradict the notion of him being the necessarily existent, the manifest truth, the eternal and everlasting, the sole deity without beginning or end. They ascribed offspring to him, which is one of the ugliest forms of insult, as he is the Almighty Majestic. They denied his power to resurrect the dead and preside in the judgment over them, and they believe that there are entities or beings which could escape him by flight or tamper in his affairs, which they attributed to the demons and jinn. These Arabs made equals unto him, whether that was in a single aspect or consideration that alongside the creation of other false deities besides him, which is a denial of his oneness, through this ascription of divinity to others, the result they associate partners with him in worship. All of that is an absolute truth, as Allah the Majestic and Sublime has informed us in the text of the Quran. It is further attested by way of historical account that has been substantiated. But where did Imam At-Tabari, Imam Abu Ja'far At-Tabari, may Allah be pleased with him, derive the statement that they acknowledged or knew of the oneness of Allah? This is a very serious mistake, particularly given that Allah, the Majestic and Sublime, has never mentioned as much within the text of the Quran. The following, though, is outlined within the text and shall be quoted in full to provide the context too, which is paramount. Allah, may he be exalted, glorified and exalted, said, on the day we shall gather them all together, we shall say to those who associate partners with Allah, stay in your place, you and your partner gods. Then we shall separate them, and their partners' gods will say, it was not us you worship. Allah is witness enough between us and you. We had no idea that you worshipped us. Every soul shall realize then and there what it did in the past. They will be returned to Allah, their rightful Lord, and their invented gods will desert them. Say, Prophet, who provides for you from the sky and the earth? Who controls hearing and sight? Who brings forth the living from the dead and the dead from the living? And who governs everything? They are sure to say Allah. Then say, why do you not take heed of him? That is Allah, your Lord, the truth. That is Allah, your Lord, the truth. Apart from the truth, what is there except error? So how is it that you are dissuaded? In this way, your Lord's word about those who defy the truth has been proved. They do not believe. Ask them, Can any of your partner gods originate creation, then bring it back to life again? Back to life again in the end. Say, it is Allah that originates creation and then brings it back to life. So how can you be misled? Say, can any of your partner gods show the way to the truth? Say, Allah shows the way to the truth. Is someone who shows the way to the truth more worthy to be followed, or someone who cannot find the way unless he himself is shown? What is the matter with you? How do you judge? Most of them follow nothing but assumptions can be of no value at all against the truth. Allah is aware of what they do. And that's from Surah 10, verses 28 to 36 inclusive. So the Arabic text has been omitted in the English version, but you can always reference that. Surah 10, 28 to 36. Note carefully the wording as it appears within the text of the book. Despite their acknowledgement that he provides sustenance from the sky and the earth, that he has hearing, sight, that he brings forth the living from the dead and the dead from the living, despite all of this, they are in rejection, doubt, and hesitation over whether the partners they ascribe can originate creation, bring creation back to life, or guide the way to the truth. Allah, may he be glorified and exalted, said, but like others before them they say, what, when we die and turn to dust and bones, shall we really be resurrected? We have heard such promises before, and so did our forefathers. These are just ancient fables. Say, Prophet, who owns the earth and all who live in it, if you know so much? And they will reply, Allah. They will reply, Allah. Say, will you not take heed? Say, who is the Lord of the seven heavens? Who is the Lord of the mighty throne? And they will reply, Allah. Say, will you not be mindful? Say, who holds control of everything in his hand? Who protects while there is no protection against him? If you know so much. And they will reply, Allah. Say, then how can you be so deluded? The fact is, so carrying on this is carrying on. The fact is, we brought them the truth, and they are lying. Allah has never had a child, nor is there any God beside him. If there were, each God would have taken his creation aside and tried to overcome the others. May Allah be exalted above what they describe. He knows what is not seen as well as what is seen. He is far above any partner they claim for him. Say, Lord, if you are going to show me the punishment you have promised them, then Lord, do not include me among the evildoers. And that whole block is from Surah 23, 81 to 93.
Yeah, we are now in Tafsir as 23. Yeah.
Notice here how they did not accept the matter of the final return and resurrection. Either they didn't accept it because the Prophet had informed them of it, or, as the context shows, that it is more likely they didn't accept that this was within the domain of Allah to do so. This is despite the testimonies that came immediately before and after it. With a verse that invalidates the notion that there are any types of deities, especially those that attribute offspring to him, the exalted. Those who held such views, or at least some of them, were attributing offspring to Allah. Allah, may he be glorified and exalted, said, how many are the creatures who do not store their sustenance? Allah sustains them and you. He alone is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. If you ask the disbelievers who created the heavens and earth and who harnessed the sun and moon, they are sure to say Allah. Then why do they turn away from him? It is Allah who gives abundantly to whoever of his servants he will, and sparingly to whichever he will. He has full knowledge of everything. If you ask them, who sends water down from the sky and gives life with it to the earth after it has died, they are sure to say Allah. Say, praise belongs to Allah. Truly, most of them do not use their reason. The life of this world is merely an amusement and a diversion. The true life is in the hereafter, if only they knew. Whenever they go on board a ship, they call on Allah and dedicate their faith to him. But once he has delivered them safely back to land, see how they ascribe partners to him. Let them show their ingratitude for what we have given them. Let them take their enjoyment. Soon they will know. Can they not see that we have made them a secure sanctuary through through all around them, people though all around them, people are snatched away. And then how can they believe in what is false and deny Allah's blessing? Who could be more wicked than the person who invents lies about Allah or denies the truth when it comes to him? Is hell not the home for the disbelievers? But we shall be sure to guide our ways those who strive hard for our cause. Allah is with those who do good. And that's Surah 29, 60 to 69. Allah, may He be glorified and exalted, said, if you ask them who crossed the heavens and earth, they are sure to say Allah. Say, praise belongs to Allah, but most of them do not understand. Everything in the heavens and earth belongs to Allah. Allah is self-sufficient and worthy of all praise. If all the trees on earth were pens and all the seas with 7 more seas besides were ink, still Allah's word would not run out. Allah is almighty and all-wise. Creating and resurrecting all of you is only like creating or resurrecting a single soul. Allah is all-hearing and all-seeing. Do you not see that Allah causes the night to merge into day and the day
Let me just comment here. Just one comment. The same applies to all of it. Ibn Taymiyyah, when he reads that who created heaven and earth, he projects his imagination about the creation, and that's what the mushrikeen think. Because he thinks the creator of heaven and earth is creator of everything automatically, as a monotheist, as a Muslim, as a believer. But that's not the way mushrikeen think. The one who creates heaven and earth is Allah, yes. But there are sub-creators there, and there are jinn who can undermine his work and do evil, and there are these things. So he's not the only creator. So they don't have Tawheed al-Rububiyyah or Khaliqiyyah or anything. That he's the creator. They admit he's the creator of heaven and earth. Yeah, he created the mainframe. But the details, other creators are there, and some other who can undermine his creation. That doesn't fit in his Ibn Taymiyyah because he doesn't read the ayahs carefully. If you read the ayah, then you see it clearly. Yeah, you say he's the creator of heaven and earth. How come that you deny that he's the one who created and provides for animals and so on? Meaning this is another creator doing that, either independently or doing it to undermine and be mischief and change his creation and mess it up. So we're facing a situation that's not real monotheism, admitting that he creates something, the frame, and then not every part of it. It's just nonsensical. That's not monotheism. That's not Tawheed. So the mushrikeen do not have Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. But Ibn Taymiyyah reads it the way he wishes, not the way the ayah says and the reality of the mushrikeen says. So Quraysh did not have Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Right? And Ibn Abd says they don't have a problem with Rububiyyah, they have a problem only with Uluhiyyah, with worship, which is another nonsense. That's the purpose of listening to these ayahs. You can go through them quickly then. Essentially, is repeating it. Someone read them several times and ponder about them if he wants. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so do you not see that Allah causes the night to merge into day and the day to merge into night, that He has subjected the sun and the moon, each to run its course for a stated term, that He is aware of everything you people do? That is because Allah is the truth, and what they evoke beside Him is false. He is the most high, most great. Do you not see that ships sail through the sea by the grace of Allah to show you people some of His wonders? Truly, there are signs in this for every steadfast, thankful person. When the waves loom over those on board, like giant shadows, they call out to Allah, devoting their religion entirely to Him. But when He has delivered them safely to land, some of them waver. Only a treacherous, thankless person refuses to acknowledge our signs. People, be mindful of your Lord, and fear a day when no parent will take the place of their child, nor a child take the place of their parent in any way. Allah's promise is true, so do not let the present life delude you, nor let the deceiver delude you about Allah. Allah, may He be glorified and exalted, said, is Allah not enough for His servant? Yet they, sorry, just before that, so that batch of ayahs was from 31:25 to 33.
Mm-hmm.
Is Allah not enough for His servant? Yet they threaten you, Prophet, with those they worship other than Allah. If Allah allows someone to stray, He has no guide to him. If Allah guides someone, no one can lead him astray. Is Allah not mighty and capable of retribution? If you, Prophet, ask them, who created the heavens and the earth, they are sure to answer Allah. So say, consider those you invoke beside Him. If Allah wished to harm me, could they undo that harm? If Allah wished to show me mercy, could they withhold that mercy? Say, Allah is enough for me. All those who trust should put their trust in him. Say, my people, do whatever is in your power, and so will I. You will find out who will suffer humiliation and on whom a lasting torment will descend. We have sent the scriptures down to you, Prophet, with a truth for people. Whoever follows the guidance does this for his own benefit. Whoever strays away from it does so at his own peril. Yet you are not in charge of them. Allah takes the souls of the dead and the souls of the living while they sleep. He keeps hold of those whose deaths he has ordained and sends the others back until their appointed time. There truly are signs in this for those who reflect. Yet they take intercessors besides Allah. Say, though these have no power or understanding, say, all intercession belongs to Allah alone. He holds control of the heavens and the earth. In the end, you will all return to him. Whenever Allah is mentioned on his own, the hearts of those who do not believe in the hereafter shrink with aversion, but they rejoice when gods other than him are mentioned. Say, Allah, creator of the heavens and earth, knower of all that is hidden and all that is open, you will judge between your servants regarding their differences. If the evildoers possessed the earth's assets twice over, they would offer them to ransom themselves from the terrible suffering on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection. Allah will show them something they had not reckoned with. The evil of their deeds will become plain to them, and they will be overwhelmed by that at which they used to laugh. And that is 39, Surah 39, 36 to 49. Notice how the matter of intercession is treated. They believe that was the preserve of their intercessors. At the very least, it did not require permission. Otherwise, it would be owned by them originally. What's this alluding to? Is this in terms of they believe that they had intercession in their own rights, independent of Allah? Okay, just the wording.
They don't need permission. Yeah, they don't need permission. Allah said all intercessions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody can intercede without his permission, even his prompting.
Is that idhn in the Arabic? Idhn.
Yeah.
The matter couldn't be otherwise, because Allah the Almighty instructed his Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, to expressly state, say, all intercession belongs to Allah alone. He holds control of the heavens and the earth. In the end, you will all return to him. And that's from Quran 39:44. Indeed, it is of great significance, and they sought to try and obfuscate the Prophet. For example, saying, have we denied that Allah is the owner of the heavens and that the earth, all intercession belongs to him? As for the command of Allah, the Exalted, to his Prophet, it was to say, yet they take intercessors besides Allah. Say, even though these have no power or understanding, it is intended only to inform them of the reality of intercession by itself in this matter. Their intercessions having no actual existence whatsoever, they were but inanimate tamathil, statuettes of representation. This is the reality of the matter at hand. It is not the belief of the mushrikeen in the matter of intercession per se, as some would mistakenly think with their warped minds. Such presumed entities can have no real ownership or intercession without a real kind of cosmic ownership, even if that were to a limited specific part of the universe, or some kind of quality on a par with Allah the Exalted, in terms of essence of divine lineage, which we have proved is impossible and absurd. And it is only this that can be a figment of their imagination. Perhaps we may notice this here, particularly after a long discussion is made regarding some aspects of his creation. For he said, yet they assign some of his own servants to him as offspring. Man is clearly ungrateful. Has he taken daughters for himself and favored you with sons? When one of them is given news of the birth of a daughter, such as he so readily ascribes to the Lord of mercy, his face grows dark, and he is filled with gloom. Someone who is brought up amongst trinkets, who cannot put together a clear argument. They consider the angels Allah's servants to be female.
That's not a good translation. That's actually meaning the one who in the battlefield does not tend to be victorious. So female are not good fighter, which we know. So they translated as it is a dispute, he cannot put a good argument. No. What mean that female are not they are unhappy with female because they cannot rely on them in the case of fight and confrontation. So that translation is miserable.
Okay, want to review the translation.
So we have that's why we have the people who try, they should not have imported just a better translation. They should have reviewed it, but that's okay. It can happen.
Did they witness their creation? Their claim will be put on record, and they will be questioned about it. They say, if the Lord of mercy had willed it, we would not have worshipped them. But they do not know that. They are only guessing, or have we perhaps given them a book before this one to which they hold fast? And that is from 43, 15, 21, 15 to 21. One should note clearly the highlighted portions of the verses within the textual discussion of their ascription of false deities, divine entities within the matter at hand. Those who had attributed a child, offspring to him, necessarily also asserted that he is the creator of the heavens and the earth, al-Aziz al-Alim. The necessities of the language utilized in the verses are demonstrative of this. The wording وَجَعَلُوا, and they made, assigned. It cannot refer to anything that precedes it, except that it relates to their pronoun and what they did. Also seen in the wording. Sorry, man. Let me increase it. I need to get a magnifying glass. ليقولن. Then they will say, it is impossible for the matter to be otherwise, and yet there is no contradiction within the minds of the mushrikeen as far as they are concerned between attributing a child or offspring to Allah whilst acknowledging him as a creator of the heavens and the earth, recognizing him as al-Aziz al-Alim. May Allah be glorified and exalted, said. Okay, before I proceed. So this discussion here into the necessity of language, is this because when a verb is used in the first part of the sentence, it's in a retracted form? What does this mean exactly? Because like
read it again. I didn't focus on it because this is part of the explanation of the meaning of that. The whole discussion is one thing, because Ibn Taymiyyah invoked the same ayahs to show that the mushrikeen, or the Arab mushrikeen, did not have a problem with Rububiyyah, which he means khaliqiyyah and things like that. So first of all, the word Rububiyyah is not the correct one in this context. Secondly, either it's khaliqiyyah or Rububiyyah, whatever it is, they have a problem with it. So he's mistaken in two grounds also. That's the main purpose. That may be a technicality of the meaning of the ayah and the reference of the pronoun back and so on. Read it again. Let's see what it says.
So the necessities of the language utilized in the
Go
verses.
before. What's necessity? You are commenting on an ayah before.
Okay. So the ayah, this was from 43:15. Yet they assign. I mean, let me just bring up the Arabic then. Let me just give me a couple of seconds. I need to find. Okay, bear with me a second here. وجعلوا له من عباده جزءا إن الإنسان لكفور مبين. That's the first one, and they attribute
to him some of his creation, attribute to him as his offspring and things like that.
أم اتخذ مما يخلق بنات وأسفاكم بالبنين وإذا بشر أحدهم بما ضرب للرحمن مثلا ظل وجهه مسودا وهو كظيم أو من
ينشأ في الحلية وهو في الخصام غير مبين.
The next one.
Females are usually grown up with cosmetics and with ornamentation, And in the case in the battlefield, they are not clearly effective. And they want some effective in the battlefield.
So this one might be where it says ja'alu. So this is a reference to ja'alu. وَجَعَلُوا الْمَلَائِكَةَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ إِنَاثًا أشهدوا خلقهم ستكتب شهادتهم ويسألون وقالوا لو شاء الرحمن ما عبدناهم ما لهم بذلك من علم إن هم إلا يخرصون. And the final one that references in that section, أعطيناهم كتابا من قبله فهم به مستمسكون.
Okay.
So that's why. So this Ja'alu was probably in relation to the angels, I think, and they made a sign.
Yeah.
It can refer. So this is after the ayahs. He said one should note clearly the highlighted portions of the verses, and the ones that he's talks about, that the highlighted ones are, has he taken daughter for himself? And then they consider the angels' servants to be females. So those are the two. So one should note clearly the highlighted portion of the verses within the textual discussion of their ascription of false deities within the matter at hand.
So the Quran condemns three things. First of all, that they attributed some of his creation to him as offsprings. Secondly, in that they have the audacity to attribute him female and choose for themselves male, although they hate females and they regard them as inferior. But they don't have no problem attributing the inferior to God. Independently, that's true in itself or not, but that's that behavior that you attribute to your God, the inferior things, is behavior shows disrespect. Thirdly, which is condemned, that the part of the creation which is the daughter of Allah allegedly are the angels. Question: how do you know that the angels are female? Did you witness the creation? Your witness will be written and you will be questioned. But nobody witnessed the creation of the angels. Almost certainly they are asexual beings, neither female or male. So how can you make them, give them femininity or masculinity in the first place? This is only a part in the creation, and not all creation even. The amoeba, there is no female and male, for example. They're asexual. They procreate by splitting, for example. So who gave you the authority to make them female or male even, but female because they did it in such a way which shows that they have no respect for their Lord. So three things are condemned there. The biggest is that making the angels or part of the creation instead of being created being offsprings of divine essence. That's the catastrophe really. The other things are secondary. It's just revocation. Show that how deficient and disgusting are their minds. Okay, carry on.
So I'll just recap that. So the necessity of language utilizing the verse are demonstrative of this ja'alu, and they made a sign. It cannot refer to anything that precedes it, except that it relates to their pronoun and what they did. Also in the wording, then they will say it is impossible for the matter to be otherwise. Yet there is no contradiction with them within the minds of the mushrikeen as far as they are concerned between attributing a child or offspring to Allah whilst acknowledging him as the creator of the heavens and the earth, recognizing him as the Aziz al-Alim. Allah be glorified and exalted, said.
That's answering when Taymiyyah, he said he sees that he's the Aziz and the creator of heaven and earth, comes automatically for him. This is Tawheed. That's not enough Tawheed. You have to be more than that. But he reads this when I was a Muslim, a monotheist. But the mushrikeen have no problem. He can be a creator of earth, as I said, but some of his creation, like the jinn on earth, may undermine his work and run away from him and cause problems and corrupt the creation. And he cannot do anything about that. So he's not the only creator. They create evil, for example. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, Professor. So let me get this one correct. As far as you're interested in this chapter, at least, your main focus is to show that what they consider Rububiyyah, it's indeed Khaliqiyya or Uluhiyyah.
No, it's not my main focus. Whatever Ibn Taymiyyah called Rububiyyah is actually Khaliqiyya, but that's not the main issue. Both of them, there is no Tawheed in the Mushrikeen.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Exactly. So they have blundered in two places, calling Uluhiyyah Khaliqiyya
That's
Rububiyyah.
discussed in the book everywhere, but especially claiming that the Mushrikeen did not have Shirk and Rububiyyah. That's the main focus.
I mean, it's self-evident if he looked at the
But
ayahs.
he did not look. He looked to the ayah with an imagination. He put glasses which are blue and looking to something which is blue. Then he doesn't read the letters. The letters are blue and the glasses are blue. Then he doesn't see anything.
Indeed. So they might, these mushrikeen, Arab mushrikeen, they might consider that Allah, the supreme divine, is the creator and is the resurrector, but they have shirk in other places, in other divine aspects.
First, the divine essence, and even if he's the creator, he's not the sole creator. There are sub-creators.
Maybe in other universes.
Many things. The ayah has mentioned so many things, but he's just blind. He's not looking. He just read the ayah from top to bottom and just خلق السماوات والأرض خلاص. That's توحيد ربوبية. That's what that's all.
Okay. That's excellent because now when Rash inshallah going to list the types of shirk that these mushrikeens, Arab mushrikeens used to believe in, I want to add a new category. Perhaps you neglected, but it's subhanallah, it's mentioned in the Quran. I want to add it inshallah when we list the types of shirk.
Okay, we'll get to that inshallah. No problem. We'll double it. Yes. But the section is for Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Abd
Absolutely.
To extreme and say. And that's the reason the Shababs few years back made some mockery and some drawing saying Abu Jahl is a muwahhid because in the grave if he says Man Rabbuka Rabbi Allah according to Ibn Taymiyyah. They made that mockery. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Even Iblis, he testified that Allah is the Lord.
So that's the
to them, I mean, to the Wahhabis, that's what they say.
That's just they invite mockery but they don't think further so that they see the contradiction and they go back and correct the premises. They never do that. It's just shallow reading, quick conclusion, and that's it.
Yes. You hammered it nicely. Subhanallah, you refuted them, mashallah, thoroughly. Inshallah. Yeah. That's excellent. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah.
Say, Prophet, if the Lord of mercy truly had offspring, I would be the first to worship them, but exalted the Lord of the heavens and the earth, the Lord of the throne. He is far above their false descriptions. Leave them to wander in deeper and play about until they face the day they have been promised. It is He who is Allah in heaven and earth, Allah on earth. It is He who is Allah in heaven and Allah on earth. He is the all-wise, all-knowing. Exalted is He who has control of the heavens and earth and everything between them. He has knowledge of the hour. You will all be returned to Him. Those gods they invoke besides Him have no power or intercession, unlike those who bore witness to the truth and recognized it. If you, Prophet, ask them who created them, they are sure to say Allah. So why are they so deluded? The Prophet has said, My Lord, truly these are people who do not believe, but turn away from them and say, Peace, they will come to know. That's from 43:81 to 89. Once again, note the specific wording employed in the verses that they believe in gods, who they assume have power related to intercession, which has been discussed before. These are 10 statements, some of which are composed of several sayings in 7 different contexts or settings from 6 chapters of the Quran, which were Meccan in origin. One should also note that Allah the Exalted mentioned in each of the contexts additional statements about His attributes, acts, and what is appropriate for Him, either as a prelude to their statements or as a rebuttal to them. All of these statements necessarily outline what their recipients were ignorant of, or uncertain about, or flatly denied, as expressed by the context and magnificent eloquence of the Quran. Note from the first passage of verses in Surah Al-Zukhruf, verses 10 to 21, that after providing a detailed outline of their acknowledgement of some of His creation, that He may be exalted, said that they assign offspring to him, that he has taken daughters while they favor sons, that when one of them hears news of the birth of a daughter, he is upset, yet ascribe as such to the Lord of all existence. Those who attribute a child to him readily acknowledge that he is the creator of the heavens and the earth, al-Latif al-Alim. They pronounce they in the verb ja'alu. They made, ascribed, cannot refer to anything else that has come before it. Hence, there is no contradiction in the minds of the mushrikeen between attributing a child to Allah and in the same breath acknowledging him as being the creator of the heavens and the earth.
That's easy. The child is not a creator; it's just a beloved child. Like the Christian believe that the son is not is only the tool of creation. They are completely obedient to the father. They don't see the contradiction in that, and there's no contradiction. But the contradiction is that there cannot be any son. There's no divine substance. There's only one divine being. That's the fundamental contradiction. That if it's possible that there's a substance and there are two of them, one of them absolutely submissive and obedient to the other one, that doesn't create contradiction. But it's impossible. No two can exist. That's the point. So all of these things could be combined, like in the Trinitarian, they combine that. But the fundamental point, the starting point, is faulty. It cannot be saved. We're all kind of saying he's absolutely obedient, submitting to the Father, absolutely without any hesitation. Yeah. So no contradiction of conflict may happen. Yeah, absolutely fine. If they existed, but they don't exist. That's it. Yeah, you see, that's how you can combine absurdities, which looks like combinable, but it is absurdities. They do not exist.
So essentially, the Quran has already given the description of what they of fundamental attributes, and basically it's explicit. So. They, the mushrikeen, or some of them, acknowledge that Allah is the one who created the heavens and the earth and created them, and He is the one who has subjected the sun and the moon. And they, or some of them, are acknowledging that He is the one who sends the rain down from the sky and revives the earth after its death. They, the mushrikeen, or some of them, acknowledge Allah as being the owner of the earth and all its contents, that He is the Lord of the seven heavens, the mighty throne. In His hand lays dominion over all things. His mercy is the highest, most abundant. He is the protector. None can protect bar Him, meaning that He safeguards, supports, or may prevent whomever He wishes from whomever He wishes, and no one can protect, support, or prevent anyone from Him if He wishes to destroy or punish them. And they, the mushrikeen, or some of them, readily acknowledge that He is the one who provides for them from the heavens and the earth, and that He has the ownership of hearing and sight. He brings the living out of the dead and brings the dead out of the living. It is impossible for all of them to agree on all aspects of this at the same time, because the Quran...
Yeah. Some agree on something, some do. If all of them present in some mind at the same time, he is the monotheist. He is not a mushrik. But it's not all. You see that every ayah is addressing certain subcategories and then rebuke them on certain aspects. Another ayah mentions certain subcategories and so on. But Ibn Taymiyyah problem is that he sees the ayah, man khalaqa as-samawati wal ard, qul illah, khalas. That's all. So everything else is included in that. No, it is not. It is neither logically nor in the mind of the mushrikeen included. That's what led him to the collapse, to his destruction, and brought this extremely nasty blunder of the triplet division of Tawheed and all of these things. Okay, carry on.
Because the Quran mentions it in different contexts, chapters, and debates with varying groups. In fact, some of their statements seem to conflict with each other on occasion. Therefore, it must be that some of them acknowledge certain aspects, while others acknowledge something akin or even slightly different. All of this is affirmation and iman, but it is not necessarily Tawheed and Islam, because it is an iman which is deficient, incomplete, and mixed with varying ideas, some contradicting the essence of Islam and the reality of Tawheed. As Allah the Exalted expressly says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُم مُشْرِكُونَ إِلَّا وَهُم. Let me see this. So this is 12:106. Let me see.
I think it's without bihi.
Okay.
وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ بِأَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُم مُشْرِكُونَ.
Okay.
Maybe something similar in another
Yeah.
section.
Okay. Okay.
Most of them will only believe in Allah while also joining others with him. And that's 12:106. Indeed, the speech of Allah is manifest truth. Who is more truthful than Allah? As Imam at-Tabari himself explained in his interpretation, to be quoted shortly. Here, though, several analytical points need to be outlined at this juncture. Despite the mushrikeen giving acknowledgement that Allah is the one who provides sustenance from the heavens and the earth, this recognition in this specific matter, number one, does not necessarily mean or exclude that they believe he is alone or unique with that. They may believe that there are other independent providers besides him, competing with him for the sustenance of the servants, and perhaps he is the greatest provider, just as commercial companies compete in markets.
Yeah, it's very well possible that's in their mind.
Just like Hinduism, because you have different deities.
Because some belief they don't have really a good solid concept of the divine perfection and absolute exclusivity. So it's very well possible that he may create beings who rebel against him or run away from him, like jinn and things like that, Satan and so on. And that's the way they explain good and evil, etc., etc. So.
Number two, it does not mean that they believe he alone is uniquely responsible for it, performing it by his inherent ability independently. It is possible that they believe he is in need of assistance or intermediaries in carrying out that provision, drawing a comparison to earthly kingship and dominion. Number three, it doesn't imply the necessity that they believe his dominion is devoid of some mischievous criminals or rebellious insurgents who defy him, that can escape him by flight, believing that they are on the same plane of existence to do so, fleeing to the mountain tops and deep valleys. And this is reference from among the Quranic verses outlined in chapter 72 dealing with the jinn, verse 12, and we know that we cannot escape from Allah in the earth, nor can we escape by flight. So these individuals are the ones who provide for themselves and their followers, having their own treasures, provisions, and supplies. Number four, even if we were to conclude for the sake of argument that the verse implies their belief that he alone, with no partner, provides sustenance from the heavens and the earth, independently in this specific aspect, it contradicts and opposes the implications of the linguistic context as it exists in the Arabic language with which we were addressed in the Quran. There is no mention in the verse of any other divine attributes or eternal qualities. Therefore, it is possible that they believed he had partners in other matters, such as A, believing in the existence of another deity who creates evil, causes disease and or infection, undermines the affairs of Allah, and to whom Allah has no power to prevent. This is akin to like the belief of dualistic heretics in the God of evil, who does not provide, does not possess hearing and sight, does not give life and death, but rather rebels against Allah, disobeying him and seeking to actively corrupt his affairs. Exalted is Allah above such absurdities. Alternatively, they may believe in mysterious cosmic forces that are beyond the control of Allah, such as supernatural entities or the like. Or that there is another deity in existence with its own separate world, existing completely independent from our own. This deity does not intervene in our existence at all. However, by virtue of being a deity, it is worthy of reverence and respect, even though it does not seek anything from us, nor does it bring harm or benefit. It is far removed from our own existence, having its own separate foreign dominion or kingdom that is unconcerned with our affairs and does not interfere in the matters of our own deity's local kingdom. Therefore, Allah must be flattered, appeased, and one must cater to his desires and handle interaction with him diplomatically to avoid war and confrontation. But this is more of a Greek mythology type of view.
Something like that. Yeah, but all kind you'll find in a whole nation, all that kind of nonsense.
Or number C, or C, all the insidious belief that Allah has offspring, sons and daughters from a divine substance or essence, but they don't necessarily have agency. They do not provide sustenance, possess ownership, or legislate. However, their status with their father is high and his love for them is immense. They are indulged and pampered just like the children of tyrant kings and their daughters. The perception being that they intercede on behalf of people before him with an intercession that cannot be rejected and does not require permission. He delights in their mediation and rewards their worshippers. Exalted is Allah above such absurd notions. This is the greatest calamity that Allah repeatedly warns against in dozens of instances in the Quran, and he severely condemns the adherents to that view. However, Ibn Taymiyyah deliberately omitted discussing it and completely neglected it when discussing the shirk of the Arabs, and the sect of Wahhabism has blindly followed him in this, akin to imitating monkeys. Abu Wahhab, let me just
Yes.
fire away, Rob.
So Professor, I think it's very important here to intersect, just to add another category D, if you may, that some types of Arab mushrikeen, they used to believe that their idols share with Allah certain divine characteristics that are sub-divine, like a part of divinity. I will give you many examples. Not creating, not resurrecting, but for example, guiding people to the righteousness or leading them astray. Let me give you the ayah from Quran. قل هل من شركائكم من يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده. This ayah you have refuted multiple times nicely. But then the next ayah, look at this one. قل هل من شركائكم من يهدي إلى الحق قل الله يهدي للحق أفمن يهدي إلى الحق أحق أن يتبع أم من لا يهدي إلا أن يهدى فما لكم كيف تحكمون. So they used to believe that their idols or their pagan divines, they lead people to the righteousness or lead them astray. That's one sub-divinity characteristics. Another sub-divinity characteristics is that they might used to believe like their idols, they cure people from sickness. But when Allah talked about Isa, he said, وَأُبْرِئُ الْأَكْمَى وَالْأَبْرَصَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. So that's بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. But for these mushrikeen, they used to believe that they can cure without the permission of Allah. So similar to interceding without the permission of Allah. But this one, it doesn't have to be like they are the offsprings. These idols, they are not like necessarily by default the offsprings of Allah, and he's
Okay,
he loves them.
write these aspects, and then inshallah we will import them in due course.
Excellent. Yes,
Keep them in writing, otherwise they will evaporate.
Yes, I have kept them on record, inshallah.
Yeah.
Excellent, inshallah. D, that they, namely the mushrikeen, their kings, nobles, and assemblies or parliaments, have sovereignty and the prerogative of command. In other words, they have the authority of making legislation binding to all to obey them. Some may argue that this is accepted in the same manner as acceptance of the verses where He, the Mighty and Sublime, said, قُلْ مَن يَرْزُقُكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَمَّن يَمْلِكُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَمَن يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ومن يدبر الأمر فسيقولون الله. And that's let me look at the verse first. That's from 10:31. Say, Prophet, who provides for you from the sky and the earth? Who controls hearing and sight? Who brings forth the living from the dead, and the dead from the living? And who governs everything? They are sure to say Allah. They may retort, but how can it be that the clear wording of the verses state the following, that He, the Almighty and Sublime, says, and that's 39:38, if you, Prophet, ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they are sure to answer Allah. And then the next verse, which is 43:87, if you, Prophet, ask them who created them, they are sure to say Allah. Isn't this at least Tawheed, or at the very least what Ibn Taymiyyah and the sect of Wahhabism call Tawheed al-Rububiyyah? In response, we would emphatically say no, it isn't. Affirmation or partial affirmation from some of them that Allah is the one who created them, the heavens and the earth, is not complete. It is an affirmation that is made partially. Number one, it does not necessarily mean that they believe that He is alone he alone is the exclusive creator of all heaven, all creation and existence. They might well have believed in another creator or independent creators, such as is seen with the belief of the dualists and Zoroastrians. They held a belief in a god of evil who didn't create the heavens and the earth, nor did that provide sustenance or life, nor did it possess hearing or sight, but that this entity creates evil, causes affliction and disease, over which they held that Allah had no power over. That evil entity actively rebels against Allah, not only disobeying him, but seeking to rebel or even undermine what he does. Or it may be a raw material of the universe, what some of the ancient Greek philosophers referred to as chaos, eternal, uncreated. It exists, but there still existed alongside this a God that created the rest of the existence. Number two, it does not necessarily mean that they believe that he alone is uniquely responsible for all those matters, being able to undertake them with his own intrinsic ability and will. It is possible that they believe he needed assistance or intermediaries to achieve such ends, based on the analogy of craftsmen among the created beings. Number three, even if we assume, for the sake of argument, that the verse affirms their acknowledgement that he is the one who created the heavens, the earth, and everything within them, including all creatures with their good and evil aspects, uniquely and alone, without any partners in this specific matter, starting from sheer nothingness by his independent ability, there is no mention in it of any other divine names, attributes, or actions. It is thus possible for them to believe that he has partners in other matters, such as A, believing that there is another God which exists with another universe completely independent from our own. This God does not.
Did not we read that already?
No, this is a separate section. So the previous one is talking about.
It's just repeating essentially. Okay.
Believe that there's another God which exists with another universe completely independent from our own. This God does not intervene in our universe. However, by virtue of being a God, he deserves to be revered and respected, even though nothing is sought from him and no harm or benefit derives from him, because he is distant from our universe. Sorry. So this was a multiverse. He has his own independent foreign kingdom that is not concerned with our affairs and does not interfere in the matters of our local God's kingdom. Therefore, such a God must be appeased, flattered, and catered to, taking into account his mood. So this is kind of like was it Greek? Was it Aristotle? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember.
Allah, various.
Number B, not being alone in the exclusive responsibility for creation or originating matters into existence. The notion that he could become weary, tired, or even reticent thereafter. The latter held by some former skeptics in Christianity that he has turned his back on the world, no longer caring about it. The management, administration, sustenance, command, prohibition, and other actions are delegated to others. They carry this function out independently, according to their own judgment, signing off on them with their own effort. This, for example, is the belief of some Hindus regarding the chief deity, Brahma, who they allege only created and then sank into deep slumber, leaving the care, protection, sustenance, and resurrection to the other chief deity, Vishnu. Death and resurrection is assigned to Shiva as per their system. Some worshippers of their false goddess, Durga, also believe in a myth explaining her origin, that the almighty Brahman has no form, no known reality, and cannot be understood. First created the goddess Durga and then entrusted her with this creation of the world. Note here that Brahman is a separate entity, not to be confused with Brahma. C, that the attribution of sons and daughters to Allah, be that from divine essence or substance. Such supposed entities having no direct authority per se, meaning that they don't create, sustain, possess, or legislate, but have the implied high status, being indulged, pampered, or even held in esteem, much like this offspring of despotic kings. Their function, which isn't an uncommon belief in many pagan cultures and civilization, is that they intercede with the Father. That intercession isn't rejected either, and it is encouraged. Far is Allah above these evil trivialities. Here I would submit that this is one of the greatest falsehoods that was held, and one that Allah consistently refutes within the text of the Quran. He strongly condemns this, especially as noted earlier in Surah Az-Zumar.
I think I just repeat some mistake I made. Anyway, don't worry.
D, that
Yes.
the mushrikeen or their kings
Go to the next section. That's, I think, repeated the section by mistake, or I repeated the Arabic word by word for
This
some.
one's a slightly different. It talks about Hakimiyya. Maybe it's a separate one. That the mushrikeen or the kings, councils, parliaments, and have sovereignty and Hakimiyya. That is the right
We have that on
translation.
the, I think it's a repeat, but it's a mistake. Either
Okay,
by
maybe
me
just
or
different wording, but yeah.
by me or the translators. Yeah. Mhm.
Critically, we also notice from some of the Quranic verses already mentioned previously that they respond to those who denied the matter of resurrection on the day of judgment and the day of judgment, which was due to the belief that the power of Allah didn't extend to that realm. So this is
Or
wider.
that Allah reports that he lies. He's not telling us the truth. Yeah, that's it. Either one of them is shirk again, because lying is a deficiency, contradict the perfection, but they have no concept of real divine perfection or the perfection of a necessary existing being. And the same with that he cannot do that. That the power has a limitation, which is if he can create, like I said, the one who created first, for him recreating again must be as even easier. So if the initial creation is possible, then the recreation should be as easy or even easier. And nothing is easier or not easier. It's not like you're saying, and he annihilate himself. That's an impossibility. That's not accessible to power and so on. So they're far away from these deep thoughts and so on. Anyway, but I think we give we give it a long discussion, because Ibn Taymiyyah's blunder there is almost fundamental. If you go to Majmu' al-Fatawa and to Ibn Abd al-Wahhab, obviously they can just short extracts as usual, because the man is not capable of going through long things and discussing them. Then you find Ibn Taymiyyah repeating that everywhere, and almost every fatwa related to Shirk, Rububiyyah, and Uluhiyyah. And the Muslims did not have anything in Rububiyyah, and then he mentioned one or two ayahs.
Interestingly, I think that stems from the fact that they want to show that the what they call mushrikeen, the quburiyin, are far worse than the actual mushrikeen. That the actual mushrikeen have rububiyyah, but these they called quburiya, the Muslim Sufi and Muslim those who pilgrim to shrines are the real mushrikeen. That's why they framed
something like that.
yeah.
It's a sickness of the mind or of the heart. Okay, or both. Carry on, go to the next section right away, because we repeated essentially plenty of things.
Critically, we also know that some of the Quranic verses already mentioned that they provide. So this is a wide and then a narrow debate about Tawheed, in the sense of believing in more than one divine being or entity. Rather, they may fall within the realm of Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. Evidently, holding beliefs in any of the aforementioned points is definitively contradictory to the beliefs held by the people of Islam. For example, regarding creation, Islam holds that Allah is the creator of all things by his own inherent power, completely independent and without any need for assistance or partner. No distinction is made between the heavens and the earth, life and death, good and evil, and all of this originates by Allah from non-existence. Anything that may be attributed to someone else in terms of creation, formation, shaping, or representation is only by the contingent created power bestowed by Allah with his divine decree. It is enabled through his preordained permission, not through independent initiation or autonomy. I just want to repeat that. So anything that may be attributed to someone else in terms of creation.
Like Isa.
Oh, yeah. So sorry, I was just wondering where contingency.
Always say this engineer is very creative. He made this machine. Yeah.
So it's a limited power within his
limited power
that Allah gave him.
Using materials already in the universe he did not create, using the science and so on, which are dictated by mathematics, which most likely part of necessary reason, and also his own muscle power, his brain power is created by Allah. The meaning is clear. It's a contingent conditioned power made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the ultimate creator is Allah, and this is just an intermediate creator by Allah's permission. And Allah granting powers and so on. So it's not an independent creator. That's it.
It is inconceivable, in fact impossible, that anything in the universe could occur without permission, and preordained decree of Allah. All units of measure, all cause and effect relationships are by his decree, according to his will, choice, and nothing within that is necessitating or compelling him to act. He is always in a state of absolute perfection, majesty, and beauty, before and after creation. His dominion does not increase or decrease, and he is not affected by weakness, fatigue, or boredom, not to mention the acknowledgement of the people of Islam regarding his other attributes of perfection, beauty, majesty, his exalted sovereignty, and absolute authority, meaning his unquestionable right to issue legislation, having the total prerogative of command. He states, وَلَا yushriku fi hukmihi ahada. He does not allow anyone to share his rule, and that's 1826. Giving this, where do these superficial or limited assertions made by the mushrikeen actually stand? How can their fallacious, contradictory beliefs be deemed as coming within the scope of being called Tawheed? Any intelligent reader will not find difficulty in recognizing this point. Be that from these outlined or others, that this doesn't constitute pure Iman or correct Tawheed, not even a part of it. Moreover, it is also the case, even if false arguments are accepted hypothetically with impossible assumptions, assuming that all such beliefs are associated with the 10 points mentioned in the Quran, with the 7 different contexts, as mentioned previously. Even with that scenario, it is not pure Iman or correct Tawheed, not even a portion of it. Instead, it must involve various forms of shirk, especially if the following is present: holding the belief that Allah somehow has offspring, sons and daughters. Such entities do not create, do not provide sustenance, do not possess anything, and do not legislate. However, their status with their Father is high, and his love, and this is repeated.
But it is just summarizing now, summarizing. Anyway, responding to Ibn Taymiyyah, he neglected that deliberately because this would destroy his theory. Secondly, what they call the third Tawheed, he mentioned Tawheed al-Asma al-Sifat. Nothing like that exists. It is just trying to transfer studies which are mostly defective and defunct about divine attributes and names, which people argue mutakallimin and Ahl Hadith, to make it like a branch of Tawheed, to make it an important issue of Tawheed. It's not, it's just a research area, like talking about Tahara and Salah. But he wants to make it important and then declare people to Mubtadi' or Kafir or Mushrik. So we give it the name Tawheed Asma Sifat. There's no Tawheed Asma Sifat. Has nothing to do with Tawheed.
In the beginning of this chapter, you mentioned Tawheed al-Dhat. Where can that be interested? In Tawheed al-Asma al-Sifat, or that's completely different?
No, it's different. Asma al-Sifat is that is this Sifat the same, like the name, and what does it mean, and so on.
Okay, so then what is Tawheed al-Dhat? Is it Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Allahu Samad?
Essentially, that's only one divine being, and necessarily existing is only one.
And Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum as well, the ayah.
Generally, all Tawheed go back to Tawheed al-Dhat, essentially.
Yes, okay. Yeah. Everything stems from that. Yeah. Okay, got you. Yes.
And he never mentioned that.
Unfortunately.
Sometimes he put it under Asma and Sifat, which does not fit there. Because the division itself is internal, contradictory, and rubbish. But this third one, Tawheed Asma Sifat, don't be fooled. It's used for intellectual terror. That's it. They studied about the attributes. Are the attributes only 7, or they are 100, or the names are 100, or 1,000, or unlimited, or limited? And since this is a matter of ijtihad, and there's various hadith in every direction, so what to do about that? Very easy. The point of view of some al-Hadith, most of them are dumb anyway, especially Ahmad bin Hanbal, and followed by Ibn Taymiyyah with his own modification, and any other point of view to make it look like it is a catastrophe. You would say, this is not Tawheed, this is a Tawheed area, very important. It's not. Most of it is rubbish anyway. Most of it is rubbish. It's not worthy. Most of it is not even worthy of studying. Maybe some linguistic issues and meanings and so on. That's the maximum. That's it. Anyway. Next section. What was the next section?
So this is just carrying on. So you got the 4 points here. So they've indulged and pampered, just like the sons and daughters. They intercede for people before him. Allah rejoices. It's a definite intercession that can never be rejected. Allah rejoices in their intercession. So the first is intercession. Number 2, believing that Allah is not free from flaws, imperfections, that He's not al-Qudus as-Salam, that His power is somewhat limited. I'm just summarizing. Number 3, that the belief that someone or something else has the right to share or partner with him in regard to hukum, or the prerogative of command. Number 4, just summarizing so people can read it themselves.
Yeah.
Number 4, the claim, assertion, or belief that there is another divine being having its own separate realm of knowledge that is independent from our plane of existence, but be that relating to a supposed underworld or netherworld. So Hadrian or whatever was it. Okay, so then the next section is the Sheikh's addendum. Further to this, there is an important point that was made by Sheikh Yusuf ibn Marwan, may Allah reward him, which is that some verses utilize the phrase liyuqulunna, they will say, to indicate a definitive statement regarding their current belief and position at the time when questioned, whereas the other phrase فَسَيَقُولُنَّ they would most certainly say, suggests a potential future response. This implies that they may say that after being presented with arguments and evidence, or after detailed reflection. I have though set aside such nuance dealing with all statements being made as definite expressions of their established beliefs, being unwavering and closing the door to debate with those who are intellectually backward and do not surpass the level of understanding the Quran. Those sects who are enamored with themselves and their own opinions, who find pleasure in impressing others with their superficial knowledge while looking down upon the prayers and fasts of others, the inevitable result of their rejection of contemplation and intellectual pursuit, and their arrogance and self-glorification, is that they call to the Book of Allah, but they have nothing to do with it. They will abandon. So this is the hadith you're quoting now. They will abandon the deen just as an arrow goes through the body of game.
Again, mentioning the hadith of Khawarij, I use it everywhere to remind that this mentality is the mentality of the Khawarij. And the moment they have power and pull the sword, they become Khawarij. And they ought to be killed, like Daesh and so on. And the first Daesh, the first Saudi state. But that's just to mobilize the people against them. That's just mobilization. It's not a philosophical discussion. But there's another point of view also, besides Sheikh Marwan, some ancient scholars said, is that the response that say, they will admit that, they say, actually, there is a sentence which has been dropped there, which is a Messenger of Allah asking this and this and this, they will say this and this as a response. Actually, the sentences, if they are fair-minded, if they make any sense, they will say that, but they don't say it in reality. That's a bit remote. I wouldn't assume that there is a part where the sentence is dropped. In that case, they won't, because they could not conceive that the mushrikeen will admit that, because they thought it is too much for them to admit. Shows too much intellectualism. But it's very well possible that some of them have such intellectualism, but it's still deficient. So our assumption is a simple, straightforward yes, they will say that, but does not mean Tawheed. Does not mean they have perfect Tawheed. That's the point, which we have to stress. Not like Ibn Taymiyyah went to the other extreme. They will say that doesn't mean they have Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. No, they don't have. And not like the other group who said, actually, they will never say that, but if they are fair, the Quran says, Muhammad asked them, if they are fair-minded and they make any sense, they will answer this and this and this. The sentence, if they are fair-minded or they make any sense, have been dropped, making you think about it and assume. I would say this is a bit remote. It's not impossible, but it's a bit far away. So one camp, Ibn Taymiyyah, is so simple-minded, assuming this is expression of pure Tawheed, which is really a fallacy. I'm discussing the Quran and even each block of ayahs, because there's like 10 ayahs in 7 contexts. 7 places. That's what we discussed in detail. And the other extreme is that the people there, there's no need for that. We are not forced to do that. And the reason why is, no, they will say that, or some of them with a sophisticated one under them. But even that, it is definitely not a Tawheed. It's just a deficient understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a mutilated one. Not the correct, pure one, the complete one as it should be. The one covered completely with from Ayatul Kursi until Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, and all the ayahs in between, which leave no gap anywhere, no gap for any type of shirk or any type of misunderstanding, any type of attributing deficiency or shortcomings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, so that's another point of view. I didn't discuss it here because I don't think it is worth discussing. No need for it. I think it's going to the other extreme. Okay.
We have witnessed this clear in our present era via the actions of a criminal enterprise calling itself Daesh, ISIS. Hence, it is no wonder that a sincere, compassionate advisor, may Allah be pleased with him and his family's statement that such people need to be executed wherever found, and partaking in that results in a reward on the Day of Judgment. Some may retort to argue that the previous discussion outlined only reveals that the well-known phrasing of the verb la yakuluna and fasayakuluna do not definitively prove that Arabs believed in shirk related to al-Rububiyyah. Instead, they present several possibilities. Therefore, why did you not strongly refute Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and his followers? Here, I would argue that no excuse can be given for Imam Ibn Taymiyyah in this regard, and it is necessary that the underlying arguments he made must be decisively opposed and refused for the following reasons. Firstly, because he extracted verses from their critical context, even to the extent of truncating some parts, which is appalling. Indeed, if he had presented the Quranic verses in their complete context, it would have become quite evident to anyone studious that they or some of them held beliefs of shirk that related to the divine nature. This is particularly so in the attribution of offspring to Allah, which is one of the ugliest forms of shirk and kufr. They also had shirk in matters that related to creation, as they doubted Allah being the sole originator of creation. Ibn Taymiyyah bundled this aspect of creation within al-Rububiyyah, so according to his very own doctrine and expression, they did have shirk in Rububiyyah. Moreover, they had shirk in Rububiyyah by considering their partners as being intercessors. Ibn Taymiyyah arrogantly dismissed requiring any further knowledge or understanding related to the nature of the pre-Islamic Arabs' shirk, implying that he knew it all, which clearly he didn't. Second, Ibn Taymiyyah claimed a complete understanding of the Quran, which is tantamount to outright falsehood. This is evidenced from a careful examination of the verse, utilizing the phrase as previously mentioned, la yakuluna and fasayakuluna, within their context of the verses, but also other verses in this regard. Indeed, he the most truthful and the mighty and sublime has expressly said, "Say, Prophet, praise be to God, Allah, and peace on the servants he has chosen. Who is better, Allah or those they set as partners with him? Who created the heavens and the earth? Who sends down water from the sky for you, with which we cause gardens of delight to grow? You have no power to make the trees grow in them. It is another God. Is it another God beside Allah? No, but they are people who take others to be equal with Allah. Who is it that made earth a stable place to live? Who made rivers flow through it, who set immovable mountains on it and created a barrier between the fresh and salt water? Is it another God besides Allah? No, but most of them do not know. Who is it that answers the distress when they call upon him, who removes their suffering, who makes you successors in the earth? Is it another God beside Allah? Little notice you take. Who is it that guides you through the darkness on land and sea, who sends the winds and as heralds of good news before his mercy? Is it another God besides Allah? Allah is far above the partners they put beside him. Who is it that creates life and reproduces it? Who is it that gives you provision from the heavens and earth? Is it another God besides Allah? Say, show me your evidence, then if what you say is true. That's 29, Surah 29, 59 to 64. So your claims around Ibn Taymiyyah arrogantly dismissing this, is this through his books from the wording? How did you?
Yeah, it's full of مجموع الفتاوى is full. Abu Wahhab may go through them and bring you 100 positions repeating here and there and there. Yeah,
Okay.
that's well known. This is one fundamental aspect of his mess of Tawheed, al-Rububiyyah, Uluhiyyah, and so on.
Read the verses carefully, free from phantasms. They contain explicit proof that the true God is indeed capable of creation, notably the creation of the heavens and the earth. He sends down rain from the sky, producing lush greenery. Each of the verses continue enumerating the attributes of Allah that qualify him to be worshipped as the sole deity in a detailed manner, creating the earth with its mountains and rivers, making it a stable dwelling place suitable for life, responding to the distressed when they call upon him, removing harm, appointing humans as successors on the earth, providing guidance in the darkness of the land and sea, sending the winds with rain, initiating creation and bringing it back, and so on and so forth. Essentially, there is no meaning in their demand for evidence of these attributes in their false supposed deities, as Allah expressly states, "Is it another God besides Allah? Say, show me your evidence then, if what you say is true." If those originally addressed by the verses, or some of them, truly believed in their deities possessing all these attributes, or at least some of them, they would have responded with a clear answer. We never claimed any such thing. Why do you ask us for evidence? Allah forbid that there should be someone in existence to dare seek to silence or challenge Allah. Without a doubt, they committed
The
shirk.
fact is clear that they claim there are deities doing some of these things at least. So I say, okay, you claim that. It's clearly they are not denying that they claim that. Show me your evidence for the existence of these deities. It's just speculation, just inherited from your parents, or you have an evidence for their existence. Show me the evidence. They will never have any evidence. They will not ever be able to bring any evidence. That's it.
Without a doubt, they committed shirk either in the aspect of al-Khaliqiyyah, creation, or al-Rububiyyah, or both. Here we can reiterate a similar argument, word for word, that was mentioned in the context of the verse of Al-Fasad. As covered earlier in this volume, the verse in its complete context is as follows. "We did not create the heavens and the earth and everything between them playfully. If we had wished for a pastime, we could have found it within us. If we had wished for any such thing. No, we hurl the truth against the falsehood, and truth obliterates it. See how falsehood vanishes away. Woe to you people for the way you describe Allah. Everyone in the heavens and earth belongs to him, and those that are with him are never too proud to worship him, nor do they grow weary. They glorify him tirelessly night and day. Have they chosen any gods from the earth who can give life to the dead? If there had been in the heavens or earth any gods but him, both heavens and earth would be in ruins. Allah, Lord of the throne, is far above the things they say. He cannot be called to account for anything he does, whereas they will be called to account. Have they chosen to take other gods instead of him? Say, bring your proof. This is the scripture for those who are with me, and the scripture for those who went before me. But most of them do not recognize the truth, so they pay no heed. We never sent any messenger before you, Muhammad, in brackets, without revealing to him there is no God but me, so serve me. And they say the Lord of mercy has taken offspring for himself. May he be exalted. No, they are only his honored servants. They do not speak before he speaks, and they act by his command. He knows what is before them and what is behind them, and they cannot intercede without his permission. Indeed, they themselves stand in awe of him. If any of them were to claim, I am a god beside him, we would reward them with hell. This is how we reward evildoers. And that's Surah 21, 16 to 29. There is no meaning here either to demand them originally to prove the existence of these attributes of their alleged gods by saying, have they chosen to take other gods instead of him? Say, bring proof. If those addressed by the verse, or some of them, truly did believe in their deities, possessing all these attributes, or some of them, they would have responded, we never claimed such a thing. Why do you ask for evidence? Allah forbid that any in existence should try and challenge Allah with such a statement. The Quran then swiftly nullifies the notion that of Allah having offspring. Exalted and sanctified, he is far above such claims. This is a refutation of any attempt to escape by claiming that their supposed deities are merely the offsprings of Allah, yet having no control or authority of creation and management, as per the previous discussion. Such people, without doubt, committed shirk either in the aspect of al-Khaliqiyyah or Rububiyyah, or both. Here we can reiterate a similar argument, word for word, as that's set out in the verses where He, the Almighty and Sublime, says, "Your Lord creates what He pleases and chooses those He will. They have no choice. So glory be to Him, be to Allah, and may He be exalted above the partners they ascribe to Him. Your Lord knows what their hearts conceal and what they reveal. He is Allah. There is no God but Him. All praise belongs to Him in this world and the next. He is the judgment, and to Him you shall be returned. Say, Prophet, think if Allah were to cast peripheral night over you until the day of resurrection, what God other than He could bring you the light? Do you not listen? Say, think, if Allah were to cast perpetual day over you until the day of resurrection, what other God than He could give you night in which to rest? Do you not see? In His mercy He has given you night and day, so that you may rest and seek His bounty and be grateful. The day will come when He will call out to them, saying, "Where are the partners you claim for me?" We shall call a witness from every community and say, "Produce your evidence," and they will know that truth belongs to Allah alone. The gods they invented will forsake them. There is no meaning here either for asking them to prove the existence of these attributes in their alleged gods, if those originally being addressed, or at least some of them, did not believe their gods had all of these attributes, or at least some of them. Otherwise, the people or some of them would have answered with the same charred, mute answer. Allah forbid. Without a doubt, they have shirk, either in aspect of al-Khaliqiyyah or Rububiyyah, or both. But for those, and that's the next verse, for those who believe and do righteous deeds, there will be gardens of bliss where they will stay. That is Allah's promise, and He is the Almighty, the All-Wise. He created the heavens without any visible support, and He placed firm boundaries of the earth in case it would shake under you, and He spreads all kinds of animals around it. We sent down water from the sky, with which we made every kind of good plant grow on earth. All this is Allah's creation. Now show me what your other gods have created. No, the disbelievers are clearly astray. And that's from 31:8 to 11.
No, it's very clear, I think. I think that if you give that what we read today to Wahhabi, after half a page, he will switch off. These people, they are not in the business of reading or understanding anything.
Professor, right now I'm skimming through the sayings of Ibn Taymiyyah. I think this is his main problem. He acknowledges that the Arab mushrikeen, they had Tawheed, monotheism, but they refused to follow ibadah.
That's
Allah.
what he calls Uluhiyyah. That's the problem.
Exactly. So let me get this quote.
No, we'll come many other times. So this will come ad nauseum. Don't.
Okay, but this is an interesting point he brings. He says, and this is why Allah sends the messengers, because their only message is to get people to worship Allah. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهِ. So his problem with mushrikeen that they did not make ibadah to Allah, although they acknowledge that He is the Supreme Lord, the Khaliq, the Raziq, the Mudabbir, but they refuse to make ibadah.
Is wrong in both things. So his definition of ibadah is defunct and wrong. It's bowing, standing, stretching. That's his
actions.
Yeah, that's number one. Secondly, that what he said, they acknowledge and so on, is wrong. We have refuted. All this evening we are doing that. So he's wrong in all counts.
I see. Actually, he makes another interesting point. He refuted the fact that Allah cannot. He refuted the fact that Allah can be multiple divines. He said that rationally and conceivably, Allah must be one and only.
No, that's clear. That's a philosophical argument. That's done and forgotten. But that's not what the mushrikeen dealing with.
But to him, Ibn Taymiyyah, he assumes that this is very rational. This is very basic common sense.
I'm not saying he says that otherwise. He thinks the mushrikeen are otherwise.
Yes, that's the main problem. I'm saying,
that's the main problem. Not that he doesn't know the evidences for Tawheed. He knows.
Yeah, I mean, to him, he brings he proves it rationally that Allah can only be one.
That's known to mutakallimin centuries before him and until now. It is a proof, like a mathematical level proof. That's done and forgotten.
Absolutely. But to him, he thinks that his level of knowledge is equal to those ignorant mushrikeen. He thinks that these mushrikeens indeed rationally and conceivably acknowledge that Allah can only be one and only.
I
That's
don't
his.
think this is problem. His problem is that he defined ibadah wrongly, and then he thinks that all the prophets say we have been sent only to Allah will be worshipped alone, and he understood worship wrongly. That's it. And he entered in a nightmare, in a maze in which you never get out until you go back to the starting point and destroy the wrong definition from the beginning.
I see.
And then the conclusion that the mushrikeen did not have that and so on, whatever he thinks about the mushrikeen, he is wrong. The ayah shows him that he is wrong. But
Absolutely. It's very clear. I'm amazed that
he's not reading them. You can close your eyes. As I thought, it is like someone writing in green on a white background, and he put then glasses in green. Then the writing in green will not be visible, but everything will be blurred. He cannot read it. That's it. He used the wrong type of glasses for this type of ink. It's not going to be visible. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to finish this last section. Then we can finish for next week we can go to the remainder.
What's the next section?
After this will be a response to doubts by fabrication. A response to doubts by fabrication. There's a fabrication that means made to in the work by Ibn al-Wahhab, Kashf al-Shubahat.
Okay.
By the way, I want to say something.
Leave that next time because I'm
really
fed up.
If I just finish the last bit of text up to that point, because that's a good point to stop, inshallah, then we can have a full-on discussion, inshallah, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Just wanted to finish this off, inshallah, yeah? Note the verses, now show me what other gods have created. If the addresses do not believe that some creatures are the creation of some of their gods and not the creation of Allah, otherwise the people or some of them would have answered with the same child-muted answer. Allah forbid. None are able to marshal an argument or substantive proof against Allah, so people definitely have shirk in the Khaliqiyyah or Rububiyyah. Regarding the beliefs held by mushrikeen, without a shadow of doubt, the truth lies with the statement of Allah, the exalted and majestic, where he emphatically says most of them will only believe in Allah while also joining others with him. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا هُوَ مُشْرِكُونَ. Hence, applying labels to limited claims in specific considerations as being Tawheed, whether we categorize it as Tawheed al-Rububiyyah or any other term, is a manifest error. It is also a fabrication. Any adopting this belief, such as the sect of Wahhabism has done, is undoubtedly falling prey to an evil bid'ah, a heinous crime. It is a grave offense against Islam and Tawheed, and an affront against the true adherents of the people. That's a good place to end. Also, point to note, obviously, we've got this text, which is heavy. Given time, when we start to distill it, this is going to be used to smash the Wahhabis and the Monotheism. Smash them. Seriously, this is, like sometimes when you go on the offensive, the problem we have is obviously.
Stop now here, and then we open for the discussion and follow up.
Okay. Okay. So just for the people, for the listeners, we are finishing on page 561, about 2/3 of the way down.
It's volume two of the translation, not the Arabic. Mention that because
English.
Everything is different in the English.
Yeah.
It's like a complete new writing. Okay. So volume 2 in the English translation.
In the English translation, volume 2, and that's page 561, and we'll be starting on a response to doubts by fabrication. And this is going to be a good dig at Mr. Meow, al-Wahhab. Garmad Khalis, it's going to be a bit of a grenade on you. All right.
No, we're open for discussion now. Yeah. Make your comment, complete your comment. Yeah.
Just to say that. So obviously
I think we have done like these cartoons and these jokes, because not very much can be done really, internet and things like that. Except
there's plenty
making mockery and joke of them, because it's almost bordering on mockery.
Yeah,
we can go a little bit more maybe if necessary.
Yeah, as we get resources, because sound bites and stuff. It's really that, because like as was it Goebbels said, if you repeat a lie enough, it becomes truth.
Yeah.
This is what we're up against. It's just an implicit assumption, even among some classes, even in people who are authorities, that there's some merit in what's being said. That just needs to be repeated and really be. You have you mentioned bid'ah there. Bid'ah, that's a good soundbite to use against them. It's true,
Yeah.
but it's also just to put it amongst them. That's a good one. Sorry, Berhat, you want to say something, man? Far away.
Wallah, I forgot. You'll come back to me later.
Sorry, man.
Inshallah, yeah? No problem.
Okay, so if anyone has any questions, far away, inshallah, yeah? I think I'll allow everyone to unmute.
I've got another question. I don't know if it's a bit of a side topic,
Sure.
it's an important one, so maybe people can benefit from it.
Sure.
So, Ustad, when we access the sources directly, when we go back to Quran and Sunnah, the Quran is a bit easier. You have to do tadabbur, you have to look at all the ayat collectively and not strike one ayat against the other. But as you know, the hadith sciences, they're developing in a very well way, in a very progressive way, where muhaddithin are developing more things regarding like ilal, hidden defects, to understand that so-called sahih hadiths are actually not sahih. So how do you think a student of knowledge who is not a master of jarh and ta'deel, how can he approach the hadith sources correctly? What do you think?
By following one hadith or some interesting hadith, following all chains of narration, going to Shamila, going to al-Mu'jam al-Fiqhi for the Shia. By the way, if there's any collection of the books of Zaidi in form of something like the Shamila, inform the people in al-Muntada al-Hiwari and also enterprise about this program. That's Abadi. I think they have. I'm not aware if they have.
The Ibadi have, yes, as well, I think.
I don't know if the Zaidi have, but actually they have al-Mu'jam al-Fiqhi, which is a very good collection now, very, very nice. And obviously the so-called Sunni is al-Shamila. No. But only essentially the so-called these people of hadith in Egypt, which you cannot very much trust it about their cleanness and so on. Although they seem to have corrected some of their errors, at least, and they do some good tahqiq, but still I have the feeling that you cannot trust them 100% because they are biased, and some of them, I think, they will not hesitate to fabricate to support their point of view. So we have to have some wider group, but all other Ash'ari, Azhari, and so on, they are in their ivory tower or just living from salary of the governments, and they have just given up on everything, unfortunately. So just like Professor, one of the Shabab is doing that about Jam'a bayna as-salatayn. جمع الصلاتين حديث ابن عباس and another hadith of Fadal ibn Wahab, not Fadal ibn Abd, Fadal ibn Wahab. We got all the channels of Fadal ibn Wahab and discuss things. That's the only way. You learn step by step. That's it. There's no other way. If you want to be advancing forward, if you are just repeating blabber what Al-Hafiz said and other ancient scholars, then you will get nowhere. You will be going like a donkey in the grinding mill, turning around forever without advancing except 10 meters per day, because you're not going anywhere. You are spun to the grinding wheel. You have to break the span, the yoke on your neck. Then you can really, your toil of all the day will not be just only turning in the same place. You will go 100 kilometers. But for that, you have to start really getting having one project for one hadith.
Yeah, definitely. So which fiqh books would you suggest to the Shabab for them to study and dig in? Is there anything like that?
Honestly, fiqh, I didn't bother about the detail because most fiqh books about ibadat and how to blow the nose and so on. Honestly, I could care less.
No, I mean about mu'amalat as well. I don't mean ibadat. I mean
even mu'amalat. I'm just happy with the basic ruling of permissibility, and then if someone asks a question, say, okay, let's take a quick book about this kind of mu'amalat if necessary. I wouldn't get more energy unless you want to work like a judge or work in courts or phrase contracts as a lawyer. Then otherwise, it's not needed for survival. What's needed is aqeedah, usul, issues of Shirk and Tawheed, issue of Muhasabat al-Hukam, these generalities, which I think the majority of activists need.
Yes.
Maybe every activist, but that's classical fiqh, genuinely fiqh of, for example, fighting resistant group, how to fight resistant group, how to watch that you don't shed blood unless you are absolutely certain it can be shed, etc. That's in fighting resistant group. That's the fiqh we need. The other details about mu'amalat, yeah, if you are working as a lawyer and you want to formulate a contract, you have books about mu'amalat. You can go. And you can even read books of the civil code, French civil code, because it has great similarities in matter of technicalities. Obviously, you have to watch carefully that the basic assumption about freedom of contracting and so on is maybe there a little bit wider or narrower than the Islamic law. If you take care of that, the rest of construction of how to construct a contract, some people have an oral agreement, but they are not sophisticated. The judge has to, from the agreement, he tried to construct a formal contract so he can base the judgment on that. That's called constructing a contract, from just a hand-waving, handshaking agreement, for example, based on principles of law. That's shared by all law systems, for example. So you can mix it even with شرح القانون المدني for Senhuri, شرح الوسيط, without much apparent. Actually, Senhuri mentioned any issues with Islamic law and with Maliki and Shafi'i there. So you don't need to have allergy about contracts and so on. That's what you may need. The other ibadat and so on, choose a madhab. I wouldn't really. If you want to go to Ibn Hazm, but Ibn Hazm have this usuli problem. Every do and don't is for him for prohibition and for obligation. If you watch for that carefully, and then he is having this extremism in regarding the moment the hadith is appear to him that sahih, خلاص is absolute, is qat'i, which is wrong.
His mind goes blank when he sees a sahih chain.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about connecting it, corroborating it
with other hadith. So he has this point of view that the protection of the sunnah means protecting every hadith, which is a fallacy. We know,
which is wrong, which is very wrong. Yeah.
But if we go to the details of fiqh, he's much cleaner, except a few odd details here and there because of this extreme position and his extreme rejection of qiyas. Some of it is not qiyas, it's actually necessity of reason.
Yes.
Like bab awla, like the fact that you don't say to your parents, it does not prohibit that you beat them up. This is a blatant mistake because because it hurts them. Beating them hurts them more. If the lower one is prohibited, the higher one is by necessity of reason prohibited. But they regard that as qiyas. That's not qiyas.
That's not qiyas, no.
That's not qiyas of similarity. That's bab awla, is a necessity of reason, for example. So things like that.
Yeah.
So he has few blunders, but otherwise he's much cleaner.
Yeah.
So if you want for ibadat and salah and other things which people make a big fuss about, sujood al-sahw before or after taslim, blowing the nose and so on, only one issue he did not dare going against the majority is that sleeping does not he believes it breaks wudu, and he invokes that Prophet his heart does not sleep and things like that. But that is not because Prophet is well known, established that he sleeps deep and so on his really stretching in bed and so on, and after hours he wakes up and pray without wudu. That's well established from the hadith of Ibn Abbas and others.
Yeah.
And that's because his heart is awake. That's not a good argument because because there's no hadith anywhere and even the ayah إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط. It's clear, right? And the other ayah which specifies tayammum include lamastum an-nisa because tayammum will cover both for wudu and for ghusl. That's the reason. Not lamastum an-nisa meaning touching will break wudu. That's not in the ayat al-wudu. If you see that, khalas, you know that sleeping will not break.
You know, an idea, I think, although qiyas has done a lot of damage to Sharia and understanding of Islam, not referring to the Quran sufficiently has equally done a lot of damage.
That's not equally. That's the main damage there.
That's the main damage, yeah. So, that's the main damage.
And not reading it carefully, and not reading it letter for letter and so on, and not giving it due respect and taking out of context.
And to be honest, most of the madhabs have done this. Ja'fari,
all of them. No, not most. All of them, without exception, except some Sahabi, but we don't have a record how my mind was working. But still, they have also some blunders because they're human beings.
It seems to me that the hadith was generally speaking more favored, I think, in these legal discussions.
later, not in time of Sahaba.
Mhm.
Like, for example, look at Ali ibn Abi Talib when he was here that someone said that coitus interruptus al-azl is al-wa'd al-khafi. That's a Jewish statement.
Say that again, Ustad. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
الوعد coitus interruptus العزل. The Jews say العزل هو الوعد الخفي.
Mhm.
And the hadith of Rasul refutes that clearly. He says كذبت يهود. ليس العزل. Anyway, Ali was asked about that. I think during his, he's not aware about the hadith, nor about the hadith of Judama al-Asadiyya. Judama al-Asadiyya, she's Muhajirin, so she cannot be conceivably lying. She heard part of the hadith, said she heard the messenger saying, Al-Adl huwa al-wa'd al-khafi. Most likely she heard a part of the hadith. The Prophet said the Jews are lying when they say al-wa'd huwa al-adl. She came in and heard only the last sentence, and that's all what he memorized. But in the middle of that, they asked Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, how can it be al-wa'd al-khafi? We discussed that yesterday in tafsir, the ayah. ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة ثم خلقت العلقة عظاما مضغة ثم خلقنا المضغة عظاما ثم كسرنا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر. So what will be you have to do to the خلق الآخر. That's what. So how can coitus or rabtus, none of that has happened, will be what? So he invoked the ayah to answer this question. Show the ingenuity of Ali ibn Abi Talib. If you ask anyone about the ayah, is there any hukum shari? Say, no, it's just description of embryology. No, it has no, you can't deduce hukum shari. So the claim that the faqih has to master 500 ayahs of ahkam, and that's all what he needs, is mistake.
Big mistake.
He has to go through the Quran from A to Z. And go several times. And every place which smell that it has anything to do with what I am studying, I go to that block of ayahs related to that context and scrutinize it further. You may not notice it, like not everyone will be noticing like Ali ibn Abi Talib about this point. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Good point. Well said, Ustad.
Yeah. And many other things. While Ali is ingenious for that, another thing he assumed a illah or reason which is not there. In another case, for example, if the narration is correct.
Yeah.
Possible. So, because his own, if you tell that the Shia, they will be upset. It's not infallible.
You know, Ustad, I'll tell you something funny. Even the moderate Shia who have left Imamiyya, even they can't really tolerate these type of things. They can't imagine any of the Imams to do even small mistakes. They still haven't.
Because conditions to childhood. But you have to overcome that. You have to fight that and overcome it.
Yeah.
And it's maybe good to see the places where it's enough to see that the madhab say one of the usul is that ijma' ahl al-bayt. If ijma' ahl al-bayt meaning a single one is not authority by himself, what's the meaning of ijma' then?
The Zaydis use ijma' ahl al-bayt, not the
Zaydis something else because they don't say the imams infallible, but Ja'fari they use ijma' ahl al-bayt I think also.
No, I don't think so. I think it's more about ijma' of the ashab.
Check one of the book of the usul which is regarded as a reference, main reference.
Maybe.
They have sub-references. The big madhab is not like the Zaydi, a narrow madhab, quite limited to in later centuries, in Yemen essentially.
Yes.
Probably a Zaydi where all Iran Zaydi, all Gilan is Zaydi almost and so on, and also Zaydi everywhere. And then they concentrated in the Arab Peninsula, and then they went down to Yemen and secluded themselves there for 1,000 years.
They got stuck in the mountains. Yeah.
The same with the Abadi, except the one in Algeria.
Algeria, Tunisia,
which has some odd things which looks like almost kufr. But the one in Oman are definitely not like that.
Sorry, what is the kufr of the Ibadis of Algeria? I don't
know. I remember things attributed to them that's extremely unpalatable. I don't remember it at the moment. I was in a state of shock to hear this.
Interesting. The Ibadis have, apart from the Nasab of Ali, they've got a lot of things right as well. Actually, they've got a lot of progressive ideas.
Yeah, this is the main mistake which is isolating them for the rest of the Muslims. If they can't overcome that, And this is because of عصبية.
Yeah, because of عصبية.
The المحكمة الأوائل. They say Ali was wrong fighting them. No, it was not. It's very evident that it's not wrong. Based on Quran, based on Sunnah, based on history.
Yeah.
Their point of view about Khuruj and the takfir for the Imam and his army and so on is correct. They don't make takfir to general people who are under a kafir Imam. And that's the correct point of view. That's essentially fighting resistant group, but we have obviously crystallized it much better. We have 1,000 years later, so we crystallize much better. But not like the muhakkima. The moment the Imam is kafir, anyone accepting his rule and submit to him is a kafir also. That's definitely blatantly wrong with certitude. And that's for the muhakkima. That's their problem.
Professor, I have one question going back to Ibn Taymiyyah. You have mentioned during the beginning of the chapter the ميثاق الفطرة وإذ أخذ ربك من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذريتهم وأشهدهم على أنفسهم ألست بربكم. So Ibn Taymiyyah and his ilk, he argues that by nature, by intuition, naturally, by fitra, that everyone of the humankind knows by intuition that Allah is Khaliq, Raziq and Mudabbir, but those mushrikeen and kuffar, they refused, as I said before, they refused to make ibadah for Allah. So to him, as I said, ibadah, Tawheed Uluhiyyah comes naturally, by intuition. How would you respond to that? By ميثاق الفطرة.
Tawheed Rububiyyah.
Which is conflated. Yeah, I mean, he conflated Uluhiyyah with Rububiyyah. That's what he called Rububiyyah, Khaliq, Raziq, Mudabbir. He says that all of humankind acknowledges that by ميثاق الفطرة. وإذ أخذ ربك من بني آدم من
Again, he is mistaken. There's no evidence that the meaning of that is that I am your creator and so on. No. That's barely anyone disputed that, even a conscious state. That's rarely argued about that, except who denied the existence of Allah. Essentially, that mithaq al-fitra, that is, who is your sovereign, ultimate sovereign, and the one who is worthy of obedience, absolute obedience and submission. And the fitra is imprinted in the gene that you are contingent, you are a slave, and there is an ultimate sovereign, an ultimate lord.
And ultimately an ultimate creator, Khaliq, Raziq, Mudabbir.
No, ultimate master and sovereign. That's the meaning of it.
So if this ayah argues that Allah took from Bani Adam this covenant, then one can understand that all of human beings are kind of muwahhid in Rububiyyah, no? Because Allah
but later on كل مولود يولد على الفطرة, and then his parents make him Yahudi, Majusi, and so on. But it is in the fitra, imprinted in the genes and in the brain.
I've heard one interesting response to this one is that it's not only sufficient to acknowledge, but to enact the fact that
these are details. But what is this mithaq al-fitra? What he asked them, ألست بربكم? Am I not your Lord, Supreme Commander? Which means necessary because if he's the Supreme Ultimate, no Lord above him, and he's the only Lord, and everything else is a slave, including you, the addressee, and they acknowledge that, then he is by necessity existing, the Creator, the Eternal, etc.
Yes, because
and this is only printed in the genes and the structure of the brain. That's the meaning of mithaq al-fitra. It's not a conscious knowledge.
Okay.
You feel it immediately, and that's the reason it is when they say about Yawm al-Qiyamah, that's why the Wahhabi make a mistake. Say this means Shirk Yawm al-Qiyamah. You're not excused with ignorance. No. What is it that and تقول يوم القيامة يعني كنا عن ذلك غافلين? That يوم القيامة Allah will tell you, I took the mithaq and gave you this head start. You cannot.
Yes.
But the evidence against you now is my messengers, when you became conscious and rational.
Exactly. When you become conscious being, you have to acknowledge it yourself, not in.
Then it will be accounting on that. Before that, it is that in themselves say, we didn't have any choice. We were yes, you are created. No way to give you a choice to create you before you are created. That's an impossibility. But I gave you a head start. I imprinted you that you recognize that by necessity if you activate it. The messenger gave you that what activated, you choose to reject. You are fully guilty now. You have no excuse. That's the main point. But the punishment is not based on violating Mizaq al-Fitra. It's just, he will tell, don't say we are unaware about that. No, you were aware. You must have been aware of that, but that's not the reason for punishing you today. That's only to tell you, I gave you an excellent head start, the maximum head start possible, and still you failed when the messenger came and gave you the message. You did not accept. So don't come say, we were not giving an opportunity. We were not asked, do you accept to exist on like this Algerian program? I say that it's unfair that Allah does not ask us before creation to create.
Yeah, I have heard it. Yeah.
Remember? And I took years to bring it in his mind that how can he ask before he are created? So he has to create you first. So the damage is done. The damage is done. There's no way. There's no process. It's beyond any power on any way. So what is the next best possible? Is giving you an absolute head start. And this head start is to imprint in your genes, in your brain, that he is the ultimate sovereign, that is an ultimate necessary existing enormous entity called God or Rabb, and you are a slave. That's it.
And the judgment Yawm al-Qiyamah is based on the conscious status that you acknowledge
accepting the messenger or rejecting the messenger. That's what will be accounted for. Yes. That's the reason. The other ayah, you have to read the other ayah with this one. Say, وَمَا كُنَّ مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Obviously, the Wahhabi say that's actually the punishment in dunya. But ya hamir, or you donkeys, if the punishment in dunya would not happen unless a messenger, what the punishment in akhirah? You see, these people are just donkeys. They got stuck with something. They want to make, nobody has an excuse because he's ignorant, because they were killing ignorant people. That's the reason. So they have to make a, and then they say, it's only the punishment in dunya. MashaAllah. Punishment in dunya happens only if a messenger comes. What's about the punishment in akhirah, which is more severe?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Utter donkey brains, if there's any brain in the first place. I think the donkeys have better brain at this point.
Subhanallah.
But they read the one ayah, it fits the desire, and the ayah is forgotten. And if they confront with it, they find an interpretation which is just laughable. You can only laugh. Nothing you can do about it. Just you give up on them.
Anyone else got any questions?
Yeah, salam, Professor and Rash. My question was, so in regards to the divine essence, right? If the mushrikeen have done shirk of something which is relation to the divine essence, then at this point, are they speaking about a different...
Essentially, that is the way philosophers and mutakallimin and it has become common to say about the divine essence. There's nothing called divine essence. It's nothing. There's only, because an existing being is only one. If to have to talk about an essence or common features of a species, you have to have multiple members of that species. Like you said, essence of human. What's the essence of human? He is this, he is this, he is this as a human. This is an abstraction in the mind. But how to make this abstraction? You have to have many of these entities called human being. They have similarity. You interact with them. You recognize he's similar to me. We belong to the same species or the same genus. And then I thought I'd make an abstraction that all humans that interact on the earth without difference between someone here in London, someone in China, share these characteristics. That I call essence. That does not apply to divine being, to an existing. There's only one. So abstracted from only one is only one. There's no essence.
Yeah. So, like, there's no difference between like him being, all powerful and being ultimately one. It's unique.
No, that's not that. He is one.
Obviously, there's a difference, but I'm saying you can't say one is part of his essence and one is not part of his essence, basically.
But the Christians say for the Trinity that the Son is a person, an entity, and Father an entity, but they share the homo substance. They share the same substance, but there's nothing called substance.
Yeah.
The brother's asking actually, I think, about
they are two separate beings. They share nothing.
Yeah,
nothing to share.
I think the brother's asking about divine simplicity. You know how some of the mutakallimin were saying, Allah's qudra is Allah. Allah's ilm is Allah.
That's something else. That's an attribute.
No.
And
No,
that and
I'm not.
sifat. That's something else. That's something else. That's another research.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, so essentially,
No,
when you mentioned in the book that related to divine nature, when you said divine nature, you weren't talking about divine essence. You were just talking about divine as a whole, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah. So my question based to what extent are the mushrikeen speaking about a different being from Allah Himself at this point? Because they're doing shirk with Allah. So then, can you even say that you're speaking about Allah now? Because if you're saying, "Oh, this being has a son,"
is Allah for them another deity and some kind of a deficient deity, some kind of big blobs and other smaller blobs.
But if it's another deity, then why does Allah still, He still
The
uses
big
the
one,
word
the big
Allah?
one, the king and the lords around him and the bishops and so on.
Yeah. So my question is, why are they still, when Allah describes them, and even the Christians, for example, He still uses the word Allah when like if you were to ask them who created
Because
them,
that's the name then allocated by them to the master deity.
Yeah. So they're using the same word, but they're talking about a different being, basically.
No, the big deity for them. They
Yeah,
don't recognize that the big deity is the only deity. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't think you understand my question. It's a bit of a semantic question. It's that ultimately, like, if Allah can't have a son, and you're saying that this being has a son, you're talking about two different beings at this point.
Yeah.
You might as well. So it's not even. So when they asked, whatever,
But they believe he can have a son.
Yeah.
Like a father and son. So what's the problem with that? The father is having the name Allah. It is not Allah what we believe in that should be believed in. It's an imaginary construct. It's a deficient entity. According to the description, it doesn't exist. But they think it exists with this deficiency.
And this applies for the Christians as well?
Essentially, yeah. But they made it so sophisticated that it appears it's not like that. By taking the escape route, they say that father and son are two. Everyone is another person. And the Holy Spirit is also a third person. But they share, they are in homoousus or homo something or union. في وحدة المادة، وحدة الماهية، وحدة substance. I mean, I say substance، وحدة substance.
Yeah.
وحدة المادة. Like مثلا, you can have iron and you can fashion this hammer and another hammer. But because iron is not one entity, is a composed entity. So you can fashion various hammers, and you can melt hammers and make one hammer out of two hammers and so on. No problem. But something which is not composed is absolutely simple, undividable. You can't fashion anything. It's only one. And that's it. That's a matter of absolute simplicity. The only one and absolutely simple. Not composed, not incompressible, because you can, to give just a metaphorical faraway approximation, is like the mathematical point. Is undividable, nothing else except mathematical point. That's the ultimate single, undividable, and uncompressible, and unperishable entity.
Yeah.
As example.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, the question just came from like a discussion that I had with someone when I think I used the word like God when in some, I don't know, discussion or something, and he was basically saying that you shouldn't use the word God because you should make it distinct from because then otherwise people could think that's the Christian God and pagan God. But then I was saying that Allah uses the same word to describe Himself when He's
he's mistaken in two grounds. First of all, to distinguish the main God or Allah of the scripture. In English, they don't have a special word. They make a G capital God, capital God, small God. That's number one. In Greek, it is Theos and the Theos, God and the God. The God is the one, the big one.
Yeah.
But the idea about the big one is deficient there. Still, it is the big one.
Yeah.
That's number one. Secondly, in many other religions, like for example in the Hinduism, there is no central deity except the one who believes in something called Brahmana, some kind of a magic substance or amorphous things penetrating the whole universe, which nobody knows what is it. Is essentially nothingness. just declared to be something. And this nothingness emerged, something emerged out of it periodically over infinite time, past and forward, which are utter nonsense. This can be refuted mathematically. So, but that's what they think the solution of the problem of time and creation. So they don't have a central deity in that sense, except this Brahmana for those who believe in the Brahmana. Not Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. These, all the three are made by Brahmana, which is this mysterious initial substance which nobody knows what its attribute, what is something unstructured, and so on. So they're all kind of messy things. And none of them will stand any rational scrutiny, reaching the level of mathematical approach, except the necessity existing, which is indivisible, absolutely perfect, and so on. The issue of attributes and essence, or that, which is really what's called essence. What I said, essence there is with a mistake. It's actually substance. But that and sifat, these are abstraction to study an entity which has certain attribution. Can we separate the attribution in study? Yes, we can. But is there an attribution separated from the being genuinely? It's impossible. But this is not a very useful study anyway. The only aspect is that to stress that if someone say any being is a that or a sense plus attributes is composed, this composition is not a composition which we mean the necessary existing is not composed. That's not this. It is not a composition which is impossible for the necessary existing being. It is based on abstraction leading to attributes which have not related to any essence hanging in the end, and this is an impossibility. But we can work with it and we can refer it to linguistics. I mentioned such references, like, for example, the square circle. This linguistically acceptable, but is there a square circle? Do we refer to anything in existence or possibility? No, it's an impossible. We can still talk about the square circle. We can say the square circle is an impossibility. So it's a very good sentence.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we could not form the sentence if we are unable to refer to the impossibility and then form the sentence. The square circle is an impossibility. That's a good sentence. While the square circle is really an impossibility, but we can translate it in a sentence. This is the ultimate reason can go. The finite reason at least can go.
Yeah. Okay. Jazakallah khair.
But this is too deep in this. This is really genuine metaphysics and mathematics. Leave that, but it's done and can be done. This is done and can be done. But it's not the concept of the mushrikeen. Only in the Christian, in the Trinity, they try to find the escape of that they share the same substance, thinking that you could define something called divine substance. There's no divine substance, because if there's something called a substance, it must be of a contingent being. Otherwise, a non-contingent being and necessarily existing is only one entity. He is his own substance, his own being, he is everything. His own mahiyya, his own what he is. What he is, he is. That's all what you can say about
it. Sorry, going back to the brother's point, I just want to specifically, I was thinking something similar, but going back to the brother's point about semantics, the issue is, the way I understood it was, why is Allah, it muddies the water, maybe it's because in the English translation, why is Allah talking about it in this way? And from what I understood to be in summation is that Allah's correcting their thoughts, not that he's accepting their premise of how.
Yeah, it is actually showing that the understanding of Allah is deficient, that Allah in their mind is not the correct Allah, but they think it is the Allah. But it may be something else. In the case of Jews and Christians, Allah says clearly, address them that our ilahuna ilahukum wahid. We believe in the same deity. Although you have major blunders. The Jews believe that he rested in the seventh day, for example. But we're talking about the necessary existing, the eternal one, the one who created the universe. But he is deficient. He becomes weak, becomes tired after creating for 6 days. He rests in the seventh day. Does not
but
negate,
that's my
does not,
point. Yeah.
does not negate the same God we believe in, but they don't give him the due attribute, and this statement itself is a statement of kufr.
Yeah, but Sheikh, if the Christians are saying that he's got a son, then they're talking about different beings. They're not talking about the same deity.
No, they call it the same deity. That's the problem. What Quran says, إلهنا إلهكم واحد.
So, brother Junaid, is it?
Yeah.
My point is,
Because the one who has a son, the Father, God the Father, is the eternal, the creator of the universe, etc., 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 etc.
Brother Junaid, so I did come to I did touch your semantic point exactly, yeah?
Yeah. So no, I got that's true.
Yeah, because
that's right.
Basically, I'm just thinking back from.
It's better to say they believe in the same God, but don't give him the due respect and the due attribute, in sometimes to a level which makes them kuffar.
Yep.
They still talk about the same God, but they disrespect him or slander him, like say شتمني ابن آدم وليس له ذلك وكذبني وليس له ذلك. أما شتمه فقوله إني لي صاحبة وولدا وأنا الواحد الأحد الفرد الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد. وأما تكذيبي فقال أنه لا يبعثني بعد الموت وأنا الذي يبدأ الخلق وأعيده. لأنه البعث على الموت based on believing with Allah's word that he will do that. It's not necessarily dictated by reason. Maybe there's no ba'ath, but Allah is capable of doing that, definitely, because he is the one who made the initial creation. He can recreate again, no problem. It's even easier, but easier just made in the metaphorical sense. It's even easier. So why deny the possibility? So if you deny resurrection after the messenger has come to you, meaning you are telling Allah you are lying to us, you are not telling us the truth. Or you think he is not able to do it? If he is not able to do that, he unfortunately not able to start a creation. So who did the creation? That's the argument. Well, something else is just a slander.
Yeah, but Sheikh, sorry, I don't mean to go around in circles, but I feel like if you affirm that it's the same deity as the Jews and Christians, but obviously
Al-Quran says إلهنا وإلهكم واحد. Fundamentally, but you have deficiency, correct them.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand why the Quran says that, because obviously if you say affirm that it's the same deity as Jews and Christians, but with bid'ah and with just defections and stuff like that, but then you also at the same time say that it's the different deities from the one that the mushriks are speaking about. I feel that you have to go into the discussion of like sifat, and that is the only way to explain.
The Quran says this is the same deity originally, and it should be the same, but there is deficiency. Say لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله ثالث ثلاثة.
So we're talking about the original, like
original, and after that still, but they are kuffar because they don't give him the attribute in full as it should be. That's it. Understand it this way. But they are not talking about Shiva of India. That's it. And that's completely different.
I understand. So, for example, the spaghetti monster is completely different because spaghetti monster is not it's not Allah. Then, in that sense, it's a different deity. I get that. But then, for example, the mushrikeen, can we say that it is still the same deity because it started with the Hanafiya Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then obviously
possibly we are not studying history. Whatever it is, they say it is Allah, and they claim it is the major deity. Maybe Adnaniya started with that. We don't know. And
but the point being that we can say the same with the mushrikeen, that they have the same deity but with defections.
Yeah, maybe we don't know.
It's semantic at the end of the day. It's semantic.
Allah did not tell the mushrikeen that we have the same deity. But in the case of Jews and Christians, he said that explicitly. So we take it that, and then we try to understand what does it imply. And the same, we say لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله ثالث ثلاثة.
Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind with the mushrikeen is لا أعبد ما تعبدون, but I don't know the tafsir of that, like as in لا أعبد ما تعبدون. Does that mean that we're serving different deities, or does it mean like my deity يعني لا أعبد ما تعبدون?
Could be, but why is this question relevant? Think about it. Does it useful anything in
to be honest?
In the understanding the reality? It doesn't. It's pure.
It doesn't really. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, sorry, it's my curiosity. All right, no worries. Thanks.
It's not useful. It doesn't bring any further beneficial knowledge. In the case of Jews and Christians, it's telling them إلهنا وإلهكم واحد. So let us come to that we worship this and submit to this only one deity and give him the full respect and due he deserves. and stop this Trinity, stop this nonsense, stop that claiming that he is that he rested in the seventh day, because this is kufr. You are slandering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you are starting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but did not do it the complete respect and due. That's it, simple. In the case of Mushrikeen of Makkah, we don't know. There's no address for them like that. And what you said, la a'budu wa ta'budun, and so on, may indicate there is not the same deity. The deficiency is so big that essentially is not. Even if you say the same word. Or maybe they started really from the Tawheed of Ismail, and has got deformed quite recently before the Ba'ath al-Nabawiyyah. That's another possibility. But this is, I think, more or less, it's a secondary thing. Although our ilah, which we call Allah, or God with a capital G, is the same of the Christian in principle, but their Trinity is kufr, meaning they do not give Allah the attributes and the full respect he deserves. And saying that he has a son or a daughter or share any something or any substance or something, such nonsense, is also kufr. But does not negate that the original one, the basic starting point, is the same. Take it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair, I appreciate it.
Yeah. It doesn't produce knowledge which is you can act upon intellectually or practically. It may be semantic, maybe. But the case of Mushrikeen, maybe la a'budu wa ta'budun wa ta'buduna ma a'bud, meaning the one I submit to and enslave me as my Lord is different than your Lord. In that case. Because he's not talking about ilah, but a'bud. A'bud meaning submit and enslave myself. So maybe they enslave themselves and accepting the rulership and the lawmaking of parliaments. So it has nothing to do with the creator of the universe. That's another category which we have to discuss in Hakimiyya. It's a bit of that's the reason this area is quite odd, and the Wahhabi having major problem in that area because they're faulty definition.
Someone had a question about inductive logic. If you want to unmute, Iqbal as well yourself, feel free to unmute. Anyone can unmute now.
Assalamu alaikum, Ustad. On the issue of negating Allah Azza wa Jall's attributes.
What mean attributes?
So, for example, yes, we would agree that Alhamdulillah, that what is established, if somebody denies that's definitely kufr. But the narration that
be careful because many of the hadith say the Ash'ari are denying this attribute.
I agree. No, I'm not referring to that sort of denying.
So what they have to specify, because there's have been a lot of fallacies and fabrication there.
Yes, Sheikh. So, for example, going back to that hadith that says that the person he told his children that when he dies he should be he should be burned until his ashes should be scattered until on the day of judgment it will not be possible to resurrect him. And the story is long, but it goes that when Allah Azza wa Jal asked him why, he said because he feared him. Now, he did believe in the divinity of Allah Azza wa Jal and the presence and the accountability. The news of Allah Azza wa Jal being able to resurrect him back from that state, it never reached to him. So if we say such a thing with knowledge, certainly that would be kufr. But that person, it's not that he was aware of that Allah Azza wa Jal is able to do such a thing. So it's not necessarily
but he anticipated it. Otherwise, he would not order them to burn him. So I think Ibn Taymiyyah analysis of that is correct. That despite being in having doubt about that, at least doubt. You cannot say that he firmly believes that there is no resurrection. That would be kufr, and he wouldn't bother even burning himself or things like that. So he's doubting that. Despite this doubt, which is in principle a kufr, also kufr of doubt, type doubt, the fact that he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outweighed that in Allah's measure. If the hadith is also correct, remember this hadith, ahad and so on. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat the creation according to the level of their sophistication and so on. He's very lenient. Let us say it like that. Yeah. He will not treat everyone like a graduate of the Philosophical Academy in Athena. No. A camel, a Bedouin riding a camel is so simple. Many things he will have things which almost bordering on kufr, and still it's because of simplicity is forgiven.
Very true.
Like the one who will go through the rasam and then نستشفع بك إلى الله. طيب, that makes sense. We ask you to make شفاعة to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب, ونستشفع بالله إليك. فسأل الله أكبر, الله أكبر. Do you know what Allah is? How can you ask Allah to make شفاعة to me? The upper make شفاعة to the lower is just impossible. And this is simple between. And kabbara until people around him, their faces changed. You know the hadith and so on. So Allah treats the people at the smallest lowest denominator with the utmost leniency. You take that on board. That's good. That's the mercy. Because he knows the level of the creation, level of the other. So don't think about the phenotype and the ideal type. Think about all levels. The ideal type is who doubt that Allah will resurrect him. In principle, he is a kafir, and he will punish Yawm al-Qiyamah. But some people doubt because this and because of this and this, some because ignorance, some is never, and someone committed so many sins until try to escape away, like this one who burned himself, like etc. The various ranks, and Allah knows where the line He will make the cut. So keep it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the best.
Understand. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the better approach. Don't confuse the ideal type with the reality. The reality is much more structured and all the very. That's the reason. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. And yesterday, was it yesterday when we talk about the hadith about al-warithun and so on, that everyone, even a kafir, if he does some good deeds which are worth counting, something is built from paradise. But if he dies as a kafir, then something has been built in paradise. Will it go to waste? No. The people of paradise will inherit that. The opposite case, someone, or a believer, or someone make bad deeds, so some place is built for him the hellfire, then he is lucky and dies an iman. So he will not enter hellfire. There's something built, some room of punishment was prepared for him, but he escaped. Will anyone take that? No, because nobody will inherit punishment which he is not legitimately entitled to. So that place will be demolished. But the one in paradise will be given to others as inheritance. That's the tafsir in the hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah. You see my point? So things are much more complex and interwoven. I wish to say, leave that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't say this guy, like this guy, for example, this Shadi, he insulted the Prophet and so on. Some people say he's definitely now in Jahannam. No, don't say so. نحتسب على Allah. We hope that Allah will cast him in the hellfire, but maybe he has some problem which Allah knows, which we don't know. We don't know. But obviously, from all his utterances, all promises, he's enemy of Islam, he's a warrior. And definitely, based on that, according to our human judgment, we cannot make a istighfar for him. No doubt about that. But going to extremes, he's definitely in the hellfire. I think this is a way of expression we should abstain from. For everyone, even for the best believers. We hope to Allah that he's in paradise for a good believer. But you never know what is deep in his heart, but maybe he has a nifaq, may have something which he was able to fool everyone. We don't know that, but that's known to Allah. But we hope, according to what we see. Then we are on the safe side, even in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, as a general rule, just don't get stuck in these things that you think people are judged just by ideal type. Ideal type give you certain ideal levels, but people will be scattering around that ideal from a wide range, and Allah will control all of these things up to an atomic weight. مثقال ذرة. And if there's something smaller than ذرة, the Arab knew at the time, who said, some people say ذرة means atom. Actually, ذرة in Arabic means the small ant. Not an atom. The people do not have the concept of atom. Calling the atom now a dharra in Arabic is a new invention of this century, of the last century, or the 19th century. And maybe earlier, the mutakallimin, when you studied what the Greek talk about division of matter and so on, is not the original Arabic of the Quran. Dharra is just but that's the smallest people could see and deal with, the ant. and even smaller. Because Allah is capable of getting all these levels of sophistication from 0 to infinity and continuous in between. Okay? Just a general advice how to purify your mouth from such statements which may invite Allah's punishment for you. Just say, hopefully, he will be rewarded. نحتسب على Allah. We hope that he is a shaheed. We pray that his shahada will be accepted. That's all what we can say.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Ah.
Just a quick question about if there are any framework of fiqh that use it like reasoning, like inductive and deductive reasoning.
Oh, I don't understand the question. What is?
Are there similar mechanism in usul fiqh like inductive and deductive
You
reasoning?
go to Usul Fiqh and you see there is both. Yeah, there's this. There's inductive, and Hanafi Usul is mostly inductive. Take special cases and deduce general rules. While Shafi'i Usul like al-Amili and so on is more deductive. Put general principles and try to deduce from them. And both are valid. And both should be used as appropriately. And then if you use them both correctly, you will get better usul, especially if you insist to have really certitude. If you insist that the usul must be certain, because this is what you base on detailed hukum, then you are on the safe side. And that's the reason I think our usul has progressed over decades now, forsaken any things which are not qat'i. And that saved us from many mistakes and clarified many issues. Alhamdulillah. But this is there. Just read the books of Usul. Compare a Hanafi one, like I think Usul al-Bazdawi is one of the standard, if I'm not mistaken, and al-Amidi. You could have another style. It's also more deductive, Ibn Hazm, but it's coming from another line, and he has the weakness of regarding every single hadith almost like qat'i and so on. But still, his Usul is having some interesting points there. But that's the problem, is that single hadith for him are essentially qat'i. And that's a major mistake, which stained his usul. Al-Amidi, I think, the best. I would regard it as the most superior.
Ustad, Ahmadi's usul is closest to which madhab we have today?
It's Shafi'i. It's usul mutakallimin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just so minus the qiyas. Like, how is your qiyas? Al-Amadi, is it moderate or is it excessive?
I don't know. Read it and you judge.
Inshallah.
I think he adopted qiyas and so on. They felt because they missed the basic ruling of permissibility, then they have to do qiyas. Somehow. They have to get somehow.
Sure.
And they don't analyze. The one anti-qiyas really too extreme is Ibn Hazm. So if you get anti-qiyas of Ibn Hazm, but moderated and polish it a little bit and go, then you will to Amidi, then you will have it. But this needs some work.
Actually, a lot of people get surprised by this, but the Ja'fari school is very minimal to none in qiyas as well.
Yeah. but they replaced that what they call Sirat al-Uqala, which is something like istihsan, which is better than qiyas, but still, you don't need Sirat al-Uqala, I think. That's maybe for urf and things the Sharia left you with بالمعروف, reasonable. خذي ما يكفيك وأولادك بالمعروف. Your husband is stingy, he doesn't spend any you like Abu Sufyan al-Khasis for him, but she complained. Most likely he divorced her after that. Anyway, there's no report about that anyway, but that's his thinking nature. And then Allah said, خذي ما يكفيك وعيالك بالمعروف. He's a rich man, you can take more than a poor woman, and so on. But you don't take so as plundering. Take ma'ruf, reasonable to lifestyle, which correspond to his income. He's a billionaire. So you don't take just monthly, just 5 dinars. He can very well afford 100 dinar monthly, for example, easily, and even more than that. Take something like that. You judge that. Something reasonable. Because he's addressing a woman who has a mind, and she's reasonable, and she knows what's needed, and she knows the lifestyle of the family. It does not specify anything. بالمعروف. That's where سيرة العقلاء. That's what reasonable people will do. The same when you manage the orphan money. If you can abstain from giving yourself any charge for management, especially if you're غني, استعفف. If you're not, and you need to give you because the management is heavy, but the wealth of the orphan is huge, and you need really work hard for it and so on. And you cannot find any way out, then charge for yourself as a reasonable man, بالمعروف, the lowest possible charge, so you protect the wealth of the orphan. But Allah knows what is in the hearts.
Essentially, it's mubah. All goes back to permissibility.
Exactly. But choose the mubah, which is a reasonable, prudent man will choose.
Yes.
And there's a woman, she's a reasonable, prudent woman. Not every woman will be prudent, and Yawm al-Qiyamah, she will be accounted accordingly. That's the only point there.
Yeah, so the rule of permissibility actually solves a lot of problems.
Solve all of these,
all of them.
Problems. Yeah.
Yes.
And most issues بالمعروف is related to mubah, because the mubah is a very wide range, and you expected to use the mubah as a reasonable man or a reasonable woman according to your conditions. Because usually people want to protect their wealth, their interest, and so on. So they will behave usually reasonable. If someone so unreasonable, then there would be hajar. You go to the judge and make hajar on him. He's wasting the money clearly. He's mental. He should not manage the money. We'll manage in his behalf until he recovers or until he dies. And then the heirs will get the money. Because Messenger of Allah clearly warned, and I think prohibited wasting wealth. Wealth should not be wasted. Wealth should be grown and should be spread in the society. Dunya will not work without money and wealth. So wasting it is a real problem. Even there are hadith that if someone having a real estate or a house and he sell it, he is committing a sin if he doesn't take the money and put it in another house at least. Or maybe in two houses. Or if it is, maybe he sells a big house, he doesn't need the big house and at least buy a small house. Keep always some real estate. That's a solid wealth, you can fall back to it. There's a hadith in that part. The Messenger of Allah gives so many excellent instruction, people are unaware about that. I prefer to look at these things rather to look about madmada and istinshaq. But it's okay, madmada and istinshaq is needed, yeah. It's a sunnah, it's a nice sunnah to do madmada. And it's nice also to say basmala and salah ala nabi who are doing her. And it's a nice etiquette if you are in a bathroom and so on. You don't want to mention the name of Prophet, the name of Allah in the bathroom because it's not a pure place. Then it's just polite to refer it in yourself without pronouncing it loud. But if you are in a pure place, then you can say it loud. Bismillah, sallallahu ala rasulillah, and you start blowing the nose 3 times and madmada and so on and go on. These good etiquettes, you find them in the book of fiqh and in a hadith. I fiqh, if you need the fiqh for really your own, I think the fiqh of Sayyid Sabiq, although more to the madhab, fiqh al-sunnah for Sayyid Sabiq, rahimahullah, he's a Shafi'i, but he liberated himself and took from various madhab. I think this is a good one for the common Muslims nowadays. Fiqh al-sunnah. I think he has a good section about mu'amalat. With the one who asked about Kitab al-fiqh, I would say Ibn Hazm is too harsh like a tough camel meat to chew and digest and so on. But fiqh sunnah is like you're eating chicken meat. There's good meat chicken, but it's easy to chew and digest. Fiqh sunnah, I think it's in. Is it? I
remember that it came out for 3 volumes, and it came out many years ago.
It's also translated in English. There's not every advice there or every point he shows is according to my feeling the correct one, but the mistake will be tolerable, will be not really world-shattering. As far as I know, I flipped through it. I don't find anything which is that offensive, but maybe at time I flipped this long ago. I was not that critical. Maybe now I would flip, I find something critical. And maybe Barhat or someone else interested in fiqh can go through it in English. If he finds something he thinks is not persuasive, we can discuss it, and then we issue fiqh sunnah, further edited by Tajdeed Shabab. We can. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? For example,
Mhm.
that's very more productive. The fiqh sunnah is good. Good, that is the name kept in my mind at the moment. Sayyid Saab, rahmatullah alayh. And as far as I remember him, he's a good man. I don't think he was involved in Futia in Egypt or in Azhar. They were just in the academic domain and in Ivory Tower. May Allah have mercy on him.
I mean,
Okay.
It's not like Ali Jum'ah and those criminals who give fatwa for the regimes. These Satanists. No. All these questionable characters from the Council of Senior Scholars and sellouts. Even there's a Council of Senior Scholars in Egypt. I wasn't there. I think it was 77. And there was a flat owned by someone, and we rented it in the tower called Faisal Tower in Giza. And then have a dispute with the one who is that's the flat, bring this and this, and said, "That's correct. I did it. I know the Sharia ruling." I said, "Really? You know that this is what you're doing here is not correct and haram?" Say, "My father was in the council, Hayat Kibar Ulama in Egypt." Say, "Oh, now we have it. Your father must have been a sellout." And he was so angry, the poor guy. And the moment I hear Hayat Kibar Ulama, Council of Senior Scholars in any country, I get an allergy immediately. Because the majority of these are sellouts, unfortunately. Unless you show me a Council of Senior Scholars who are respectable and not sellout, I'm insisting on my point of view.
They are governmentally appointed.
Yeah, so they are sellouts, most likely,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's good, man. That's good. You're just like us. The amount of people we just trolled.
And appointed by governments who thinks if the government would have been a just ruler and so on, then we could say, okay. And even in that, they would tell the God, listen, that should be an independent institution with its own internal mechanism. They call themselves to meeting. You send questions. You don't dictate the agenda. All of that. That behavior shows that you are windy. You are questionable. Then we may say, okay, life has been complicated. The Ummah is now millions and hundreds of millions. Maybe we should have a collection of scholars, 7, 10, 20, 50 in a council. But this council must be sufficiently independent, possibly even elected from the people directly. Then we may say, okay, I don't like formalizing these things, which may develop into a Kohanim system, a Kahanut. I don't want to have religion. Men of religion, everyone should be of religion, Islam, but you need in simple time where the people who are a few thousand in every city and you can find the mufti easily is not the same. Now cities are in the millions and so on. So there will be also general question arising from time to time. The people can send a question there, and they put it in the agenda. The Council of Senior Scholars in Saudi Arabia, nothing in the agenda except what the king ordered them to put and so on. That's the beginning of sellout. That's why this is not an independent body. It should be as independent as judiciary, even more independent than judiciary. More independent than judiciary. So this is a catastrophe. Let's just cross them right away from the beginning. Anyway, we are not discussing now state structure and possibility of independent bodies, which best will be elected directly from the people. That will be easier. Then we could say this is not Kohanim, that's not Kahanut. Although I still have some allergy. Judiciary is part of the state apparatus, one of the state authority. It has to be appointed and follow certain procedure, due process, and so on. That's fine. There's no escape from it, formalizing it. And also we have the President of Messenger Allah appointing judges and things like that, including Ali ibn Abi Talib and others. That's needed. That's dictated by necessity and clearly enacted by Sharia. But otherwise, he appointed people to teach the people and educate them, but never something like mufti or fatwa or something like that. All the people went to knowledgeable people for fatwa. Yeah, true. But nothing appointed by the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu.
Okay, everyone, inshallah, let's reconvene next week. And Doc, Sunday, inshallah, probably pick you up around Maghrib time, inshallah.
Okay.
Inshallah. Okay.
خلاص, no more question. Everyone is happy.
Thank you, Ustad.
سلامكم الله. يلا.
جزاك الله خير.
جزاك الله خير شيخ.
So we conclude with the usual dua, because we have may have said something nefarious or something wrong. So let's say سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وآل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. تصبحون على خير. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.